You guys hear us now? There we go. Found on those.
Okay, we're up to set and adjust the meeting agenda. Before we start discussing that, I just want to mention, not sure if everybody saw the memo. We have the zoning ordinance draft to review today. Al has done a good job going through that and mentioned might take like an hour and a half, so just be aware of that. And I wasn't sure about whether we had the bylaw update information, so. Okay, so I'm thinking we're striking the bylaw update today.
Yep.
That's off. Anybody have any other comments regarding the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we will proceed as is. Conflict of interest pertinent to today's agenda item. Does anybody have a conflict of interest? I see no raised hands. Okay, moving on to public comment. People can address the PC here. Questions come to the chair. We ask that you speak from the lectern and announce your name and address. The comments should be relevant to matters in front of the planning commission. Nobody's allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time to answer members' questions. And public comment limited to 3 minutes, and we will be enforcing that. Thank you. Anybody in the room? Nobody in the room. Anybody on Zoom like to make a public comment? Okay, I don't see any raised hands. Okay, moving on, we've got approval of minutes. I believe we have 2 sets of minutes today. So the first one's for May 29th. I was not present for this meeting, so it's up to you guys to give feedback.
I did not notice anything that stood out to me. It looked all good to me.
Anybody else, just as you guys are probably looking at this, this was the public hearing on the development on M72 over by the casino.
It looked good to me, so
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'd make a motion to approve the minutes for May 29.
Okay, we need a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Okay, those are approved. Next, we have the meeting minutes for the regular meeting, June 5th. So this was a regular meeting, but it also included a public hearing on the mustard operation up on Monroe.
On page 6, under unfinished business, the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4th sentence down. about
B?
6, no, not under B, 2 lines below that. It says, it starts out with used map does not show that there any properties. I believe that's supposed to be our properties, that there are properties. Is what,
Okay, like instead of any, it'd be R.
that's what I think.
Otherwise, it could say R any property.
Yeah, oh yeah, either way, yeah, yeah. So, something just didn't read right.
Yeah, any don't read right.
All right,
Future land use
So,
map doesn't-
change it
And
to
use
R
does
or
not
add R.
show
That
that
there
they
are, yeah, there are
Are
any properties,
properties.
yes, yes,
Our
that's right.
properties are areas that are intended for future development or changes.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
there are any properties,
Like
yes.
our-
Okay,
No, put are in front of any.
Correct.
There are any. And that's the only thing I caught.
you just have to drag the there out. There are any.
Okay, any other comments or corrections to those set of minutes? I didn't notice any here either.
I'll make a motion that we accept the June 5th meeting minutes, with the amendment made.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Those are approved. All right, just, I wasn't gonna go through it because you all have it in your packet, but there is some correspondence from Kim Mangus. This was the things that she shared verbally at the last meeting. They're attached in your packet for your reference.
I do have some comments that I'd like to make about some of that.
So I'm wondering, I'm not sure I'm allowed to do this at this point. We do have the master plan discussion later in the agenda under nine C. Would it be okay to just hold
Yep.
those for there?
Yep.
I'll make a note so I don't forget. All right. Moving on, we've got the zoning administrator report, Deb Graber. Yeah, sure. I am appreciating your detailed monthly reports. Thank you.
As you can see, I did separate the report, so the zoning permits are at the top. The land divisions are in there, the special use requests, the zoning board of appeals. It helps with the numbering scheme when I'm
Addresses.
and when I'm assigning numbers, I don't have to put an A on one because they were all combined when I arrived. So I've split them apart so that I can actually make sure that we've accounted for all the numerics. It was a very busy month for the month of June.
See that.
I think I gave out 11 permits last month. Short-term rental concerns are coming in. So I've been talking with the attorney and as well as researching what we've done in the past regarding short-term rentals. Because people that live near them are not real happy with them.
It's heating up already.
It
That was
is.
before the 4th of July.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And my weekend was very busy. I was taking calls up until 11 o'clock the other night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, some people are getting noisy too, but we have a noise ordinance for that and the sheriff handles it. So
That's good.
I've shared that with people.
Okay.
Trying to think if there's really, I did, just for your information, after the last month's board meeting, not yesterday's board meeting, but last month's board meeting, I did take a tour of High Point Golf Course. I got to go ride on their gator and toured the whole thing. I was out there yesterday looking at their forms are set, at least on half of the lodge. They're doing a very large 2-section lodge that's connected in the center. And they've got the holes dug and the forms are prepped with the 1x12s and rebar. They figured they'd have the other one. They're pouring cement tomorrow. So very interesting. So that was, and I've had a good chat with Scott Jawasiak too, and on how that's progressing. And so it's just FYI. I don't know if anyone would like to see pictures, but I did snap a lot of photos. They're anticipating that people should be playing golf there next spring. So
Did they show up an egg on the map? Are they all in?
Yeah, they're an egg. they're an egg. Based on what I know about our zoning at this time on the zoning map.
Okay.
You can see there's no street names yet. That's okay. No big deal. No. There are some things coming, but I don't have applications for everything. I have talked to quite a few people in the community. Traverse Bay Plastics may be expanding. And, you know, and obviously nuisances are becoming a little bit more prevalent because grass is growing and weeds are growing into vehicles. So I'm working on that and so we'll see how that progresses, but I tend to work with people rather than just write letters to them.
Does Grand Traverse Plastics have space for an expansion? Because I remember.
They own a property right across Moore Road,
On the other side.
other
Okay.
side of the road, but it's commercial property, not industrial property. It's commercial, so a little different
What's the
zoning.
difference in-
Setbacks, there's slight difference in the setbacks, there's slight difference in the buffers. Because it's, they're buffering against commercial and they're buffering against ag, I believe. So. But we don't have a rezoning ordinance, so I don't think, so anyway, yeah, that's all I have. If anyone has any questions about my reports,
We have addresses. We've never had addresses.
I actually put dimensions on what they're constructing too, so the size of the building.
That
I
was
mean, I do
nice
have to make
see.
3 trips out to each property. One, before I give out a permit, I look at every property. I don't just write permits. I go out, I look at the property, I snap a few pictures. Once they pour the footers, they're supposed to call me and I go out, make sure that it still meets the setbacks, that their excavator didn't like slide it over 3 feet or 10 feet, or all of a sudden now it's a problem with the setback. So those are things I watch for when I go out and see where they're getting ready to pour the footers, but I like to see it when the forms are set but not poured. And then I go out later. I stop by properties if I'm driving in the neighborhood anyway. And then when Grand Traverse County has been calling me quite a bit on, well, prior to their ransomware issue, they were calling me quite a bit to do final inspections on some new builds that, just to make sure that it met the township requirements. So, but it's a lot of building going on.
Yeah.
There's some more coming. Okay, thank you.
All right, good, thank you. Moving on, I just have one quick item from the chair's perspective. I did follow up with our presenter from last month that came in here from MDOT. And in your packet, there is a really nice large version of, he sent me, you know, he just talked. He didn't give us anything in writing. So I obtained this document from him. So I think the very relevant item in here for us was the, it's interesting, he's got it labeled as center turn lane, Arnold Road to Bates Road, but I did clarify from him, he will put it to the west of Bates Road to deal with the horse show backup. And I actually called him because I witnessed a huge backup and some real crazy stuff. It was a few
Well, the
weeks
other
ago.
day when 22 minutes to go 5 feet and the guy wouldn't let you go down Bates, that was awesome.
Yeah, so anyway, unfortunately, that's 2027, and I asked him if we could move that up, and he sent me a 2-letter response, no. So anyway, I guess that's the way that goes, but it doesn't hurt for
Nice
people to
try.
keep calling, you know?
Nice try though.
All right, next one, Heidi Township Board Report. Have anything for us?
Our meeting was very short yesterday. It actually only went to 1:30. There wasn't really a whole lot done that would reflect you guys. Somehow, some way, we have to figure out how to get a description, definition, something from short-term rentals. Because if we're starting to put all this together and we're missing definitions, when do we bring that to the table? How does that work? That's my question for tonight. Because I was reading all this and then I was like, well, we're missing some definitions, so who is responsible for that and what's the process? I mean, I hate to ask now in my report, but it's really important that we start defining some of this stuff because certain people don't have answers when they make phone calls here. And they're not liking the way short-term rentals is described already, so is doing this when we should do it or no? Because
I'm gonna
it's
answer.
missing?
Yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
Well, there is no definition of short-term rentals in the existing ordinance. It's silent completely on short-term rentals. It's my understanding that the township in its newsletter has said that short-term rentals are prohibited because it is not specifically provided for in the ordinance. In my mind, that's an answer, but it's not the best answer in terms of how you regulate short-term rentals. You should define it. You should say what zoning districts it can go in and which ones it can't. And if there's any licensing provisions to go along with that, those should be enacted too. So we don't have that.
Where
We
does
know
that process start?
it starts, no, I don't think so. I think it's part of it belongs in the zoning ordinance and then also potentially some licensing mechanism that some places have gone towards. And that discussion has yet to take place.
But the proper place for it to take would be here, right? The discussion would start here,
Well,
not somewhere else.
I would say yes and no. There's been a history on this planning commission of working on things and having the board set it aside and do nothing, which is a real waste of our time. So
Exactly.
I'm wondering, what has the board discussed? Like, are they discussing the complaints, what are they saying about it? What direction are they taking? But has anybody brought it up is my question. Has it been a discussion point?
Kind of really, no.
Well,
It's almost like they're avoiding it because they already feel it's enough said on the website.
yeah, well, I would suggest that you put it on the agenda for a discussion because I don't
And
see
see
the
where they want
value.
it and see
Yeah,
where they
I don't
want it.
see the
Okay.
value if there's no support for defining it, then. what's the
We're
point of
wasting, right,
working?
we would be wasting our time. Is
Yeah.
that something you want me to bring forth to the board? Because I'll be writing my stuff in about 2 weeks. So it'd be nice to know.
Deb has something.
I have a question on that, Linda. Could the planning commission went ahead and defined it and says, here's our findings, here it is, and if the board accepted or didn't accept it, that's up to them. But if we did define it, then we'd be up, then the board would have something to look at. Right now, I guess what we're asking them, are we asking them to define it and send it to us, or what are we asking?
We work for the board. They don't work for
That's
us.
right.
There is no point in us doing anything if they're not gonna address it. I thought the best 2 meetings that we have had since I've been on here have been between the board and the planning commission. So we understand each other and we can all work on the things that they want us to work on. That's our job, number one. If we go and start working on things that they're not interested in, we've kind of insulted them. They direct us. We do not direct them. But the best way to go through several of these issues that are coming up is have a meeting with each other and so we're working together. And we're not,
Isn't that part of our liaison's job is to take these questions to the board and see if the board wants us to work on it? Because Linda is very right.
Right,
Alice,
yeah, bring this, have a meeting with the board and say, here are the things that we're thinking about. What do you want?
Well,
What's the most important?
that entails a meeting, and we already have a liaison who can go to them and say
I
that
can
without,
take it to them.
without us having to have a special meeting.
Yeah.
They don't like, just so you know, they're not real happy about those meetings. Just so you know, the feedback from them is not good.
And that's why I'm saying we already have a liaison.
And I don't mind taking them anything, I'll put it in the agenda, I'll
and-
make it look pretty, I'll do however you want. me
Both
to
of
do
you
it.
are very right about
Mhm.
it's a waste of time for us to do stuff. And because this has happened time and time again, we think it's important, we do something with it, and the board just flat out ignores it.
Listen, I don't think some of them have read the master plan, so. I stood up on the table and said, all my reports, read the master plan, please.
So
read the
let's
master
stay
plan."
on task of the short-term rental question. I think it would be important to share some of the information from the master plan survey regarding
Well, that's
what
I
the
was thinking. Is
community
there something
said.
We could put
Yes,
together.
it is right in the master plan, open
Right.
to the survey page, and it's right there. And it is a hot topic in the community.
So let's ask her what would help her because she's taking the phone calls.
Okay, go ahead, Deb.
Everyone wants to know, what are you gonna do about this? So I had a discussion about what am I to follow when I get these complaints. Last fall, there were several letters that went out to people who were short-term renting. Those same neighbors came to me in the last 4 to 6 weeks, a lot last weekend, wanting to know what the process is. So they get a letter. I was told to follow the code enforcement policy. So if I want to go up and visit them and leave my card and say, please call me. Oh, I'm not the owner, I rent. I did that yesterday. So I said, well, just have the owners call me. So that's the first step, or I send a letter. So I send a letter. The second letter goes out certified mail. That certified mail letter, once I've done that, goes to the board. And so I have warned, I let Ron know yesterday that they will be getting at least 2 at the next board meeting of rentals. They're advertised on Airbnb. I'm quoting their advertisement. I've sent them letters. If they continue to do it, it's going to be up to the board to decide how they want to proceed. So that's the process I've been told to follow with these. No, it's not defined, but that's not the only definition that needs to be added. We need a really clear definition on what a single family dwelling is. That would be, so when you start to look at some of the things, you may want to just put a little list together that kind of says, hey, here's some hot buttons that we have in the community in our zoning ordinance that we kind of need to address. So don't go after one definition, kind of hit 5 or 6 that aren't in there that need to be in there. And I think Randy kind of knows a few of them that need to be defined. Short-term rental is one. It's common knowledge, and you go to Webster's dictionary, but a short-term rental in communities is anything less than 30 days. So yes, Carl, it was right that you are here at the direction of the board, but all of you also represent the public. So if the public has a concern and they bring it to one of you, you're their voice. So you don't have to wait for the board to say, you need to do something. You have that power to actually initiate it on your own. If you're always going to wait for the board to say, well, what do you want us to do next? Well, the only thing you really have to do is the master plan. Oh, I guess we don't have a meeting. But I suggest listen to your public because you're representative of all the people. It's not just what the board says, hey, maybe you want to take a look at this and get back to us, but you need to go to the board, even if they shoot you down and say, hey, this is a concern coming from the public. We talked about it, researched it. This is what our findings are. This is what we found in our survey. And this is what we would recommend.
Present some findings of-
Or, but actually do a little presentation. And this is why we think this is important. And this is something that we would like to work on. Do we have your support to do that? And maybe it's just putting a little paragraph together like that. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, and I'm sure that one of the kind of messy issues it'd be nice to have an answer to is when you're talking to them, get some clear direction on whether it would be acceptable to integrate it. We've been working on this zoning ordinance consolidation to get all the amendments into the one document. Is it acceptable to entertain getting that issue taken care of at the same time? Yes or no? You know, I mean,
I know
it's
what you're
right in
saying.
front of us, but I'm not sure there's been a lot of kibitzing back and forth about no substantial changes. Was that your word, Randy? No substantial
Well,
change.
that
This
was,
would be a substantial change.
right, because that's what they directed us in their meeting. to do.
Right, and I don't
So-
think you can start adding definitions and stuff that would start to raise the question, well, you defined it here, but then you didn't address it here, you know, that, I'm not sure how that would play. But anyway, okay, well, point well taken. I think, are we all in agreement that Heidi will take this to the next
If
board meeting?
anybody, you got 1 week, guys, send the comments and emails now.
Mhm.
Send me
Well,
all
I
your
think,
concerns
I think
and
most of
comments.
it's already right there in the.
Well,
master
I
plan.
understand that.
Show
but
them
if
all,
you-
all of the evidence that we got in the surveys, show them every bit of it.
I get that, but what'll help me is hearing your ideas. I want to bring all the ideas to the table, not just what I'm reading.
Okay,
So please, if you have any ideas, concerns, complaints, whatever, throw it at me in an email and I'll put all of it together and I'll try to come up with a direct, non-confrontational, non-changing.
okay,
Something.
I think we're clear.
We're good.
All right, thank you. I did not join audio, so I think I'm good on that.
They got,
Let me just see if there's another way I can. No, it doesn't even have a microphone. There's nothing.
why do they got feedback again?
The gentleman Harshfield said he
Vern,
couldn't hear very well.
you gotta yell for Vern. Everybody yell for Vern.
See him there.
Oh, probably because he. couldn't.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Carl. I think you had a handout here. Is this for your discussion?
That's second item. First item is, we did have a, appeal, for a, appeal of the, setbacks, property at the end of the north end of Cook Road. The people there are renovating a 600 square foot log cabin and asked to add a 700 square foot addition to it. They had letters from 6 residents supporting them. They've worked with Deb. She gave them some information. I went to the health department and got approval for septic and well and information on where to place the new addition. This part over on one side is just was where the whole septic was, and it's kind of wet. The land itself is kind of in a hard place. It's in between Williams Bridge Creek and Cook Road, so it doesn't fit any of our normal, size. So we, after talking with them and the information that was all given, we approved the variance, so they can go ahead with his construction.
Okay. Any questions for him on that?
My second item is, it's my understanding that everybody has this book.
Yep.
Is that true?
I do, yeah.
I was talking to one of the members of the ZBA this weekend. He's unaware of this book. I don't even have the phone numbers of the other two members. So I don't know whether they
Tell
have
Deb over
them or
there.
not.
Tell Deb.
We normally don't talk between meetings. That's not our job. Our job is to be independent when we go into these. Have not discussed it with the other members or any of the public. Only what's, but I'm shocked that, somehow we forgot these people. And that kind of answers some of my questions about comments that we get in our discussions. I respect the member. I'm the junior member, but gee, I was surprised those fellows, of course, some of the two older members, they've been through a lot of these, and we don't get many appeals, 3-4 a year. But as a result of getting this with the packet, I all of a sudden had my eyes open and said, wait a minute, we only have 8 members on the ZBA. And we're required by this document to have, we only have 4 members. We're required to have 5, and 2 of them are shall, and they're right in this document. And we haven't had a member from the township board in the 3 years that I've been there. And looking back, input from the board and the elected officials could have an impact on the decisions we make. And once our decisions are made, that's law. That's it. You can't change it unless you go to court.
Well, I believe Ardella Benak resigned from that position and nobody else. I'm not sure why
That's what
nobody else
happened.
stepped up.
None of that matters. It's required. Our township supervisor is supposed to do it. And my question is this, is it affected? Is it that no one else on the board is willing to do it? Or is he unwilling to nominate a person that would do it?
None of the board members stepped up, Carl.
What?
None of the board members stepped up, Carl.
Well, something has to
Can
happen.
really answer that question? That would have to be directed to Ron Hop.
Because I have been accused of having too much influence on the other members, and that is why Mr. Pop wanted me off of the the board. And I go by this book. And
I think it'd be great.
people may not like that, but I will not be in favor of any variance that the man can make without any undue hardship. That's the law. I don't know why Mr. Pop is angry with me. I just went by the book, and I don't know that I've changed anybody's vote. Those people know more than I do about some of this stuff. When they look at this property, I'm learning. But I am very upset about being, being told, I should be off the board because I am giving too much influence to the other members. Did anybody ask them? I mean, that would be the first thing. We should go and ask them, am I causing problems with them? I
Carl,
don't think so.
I was at that one meeting just to learn, just to see what you do.
Yeah.
And you didn't influence anything. I mean, the gentleman that was being chair ran that meeting, and when questions were asked, you didn't do anything different there than you do here. So who's ever saying that?
That is our township supervisor.
Yeah, well, I think that's wrong.
Well,
because I
We
want.
have a meeting with him.
Okay, well, I appreciate what you're saying, Carl, and I appreciate you're in a tough spot. Unfortunately, I don't think we have the power to influence that.
Well,
at
could
this-
we talk to the township attorney about forcing the board to make a decision? On the other hand, you may be the person doing that in a few months, so think about it.
I don't think you can force, I think this is all volunteer, so to take a board member and say, well, you're going to, I don't think they have that authority. I don't think the supervisor has that authority. Like you did it out of the goodness of your heart, Carl, because there wasn't anybody willing to do it. And what, if you didn't do it, they wouldn't have one.
Hey,
And that's,
Carl, can I ask you the source of this document? Is this,
This is our
this is not,
Article
That's
18
out of the PMP manual.
of the zoning,
Ordinance.
18.2 out of the big white book. I got the white books
Zoning
and the blue
ordinance.
books. It's
so
in,
is this the general ordinance book?
It's an art-
no, it's in the other one.
zoning.
It's in
It's
the
in the
whole.
The one in the general ordinance book is a paragraph that you can't read that long.
Make sure you read these two.
Okay,
Because
thank
this
you for
outranks
the
that.
reference.
That one.
Just so you know, Carl, this.
And you're calling out the specific
This is
issue
right out
about
of the
township board. rep.
book of the zoning ordinance book.
Well, and the
Here,
this is also calling out that they don't have.
Your bylaws.
Well,
So
yeah, that's how you get. the
bylaws
summary,
outrate
that's
that.
what I have.
Now, this is.
Which
not
the
in-
bylaws
Amy doesn't
No,
have
it's got nothing to do with
override
it.
either.
I understand that,
So
but
if you
your
can't vote for the
bylaws
board, you should at least
outrate
have
this.
5 people.
Oh, did?
Well, and I know
Yes.
Tim.
You sure?
died.
It's right here. It's right here.
Okay,
Michigan State University.
all right.
Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals are
Okay,
required.
we're
to
gonna
cover-
move on here. I think we can discuss that outside the meeting, I think. Okay,
problem.
thank you.
Read this when you get. it.
Thanks for your comments, Carl. All right, moving on. I know you're all excited. Randy's got a projector ready, so I'm gonna move my chair. Maybe I'll go take Randy's chair. And we're gonna talk about the new map. Is there a problem? Oh, shit. Okay.
Good.
here's one here, Linda.
That's good.
It might be all right. I gotta just, let's see what it looks like.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
All right.
Moved in on you.
Read that though.
You got power?
It's good reading for you.
Yeah, there's a light.
It's in the packet. But it's more,
This has got a plain extension on it that
yeah, this is the agenda item. So this is the,
he's not here.
right.
No,
That's good.
That's good.
Okay.
No.
No, that's better, yeah. Thank you.
This does not change the ordinance.
Okay, so we were,
It doesn't. but it-
wanted to begin this discussion.
I must have a copy of it.
So we wanted to begin this discussion on the zoning map itself. And before we get into that, we wanted to talk for just a moment about PUDs because a couple of the zoning issues that have come up relate to how planned unit developments are handled. I just took a old presentation of mine that I did. This is the book that is probably most well-known on using conservation design and planned unit developments and how it's supposed to work. And I want to just walk through this real quickly with you, just to give you a background before we start talking about our zoning map in particular. So many years ago, there was a recognition in the planning community about the fact that typical zoning ordinances will often just result in what you see in the upper right or upper left rather, where you have cookie cutter subdivisions, you lop off the lots, you put a house on it. It becomes a geometry problem of trying to figure out how many lots you can get in there. The engineers go nuts trying to do this because they want to maximize the number of lots. And that does very little often to preserve natural characteristics. Conservation development or open space development, there's several names for it, take a different approach. And that is to identify first what is unique about a site and then make the homes and development try to work around it There's always compromises, but that's basically the general approach. So you begin by looking at what might be there. There might be steep slopes, there could be wetlands, there could be hydric soils. That means soils that are wet, not necessarily wetlands. You inventory where those are. There might be woodlots, there might be fields, special views, old farmhouses that are historic, things like that on the site already that may be deserving of preservation in some way, if possible. So from that analysis, you go into defining what are potential development areas. You look at the site and say, these are the areas that lend themselves best to development. We should put the homes here rather than just scattering them throughout the whole site. So the houses go there. You build the road network around it, and you have a subdivision. The problem is this doesn't fit the normal conventional lot size things that you would have with conventional design. You would be forcing basically having sensitive features in people's backyards. You just basically clear the site, build the homes, move on. And so the preferred approach is conservation design in many cases, but that doesn't fit the normal zoning ordinance. This has been popular within the last, I'd say 20, 30, 40 years. And there's examples all over the place where these things are built. I just have a couple of images to show you this isn't just drawing on a piece of paper. Prairie Crossing is one of the most famous ones in the state of Illinois, not far from Chicago. It was one that's been done maybe 20, 30 years ago. I did this presentation in Ohio, so there were projects in Ohio that I picked out that were also very good conservation design examples. This is some of the drawings from Randall Arndt, who I actually had to meet him one time. We picked him up at the airport before he did a conference for us. And this is showing desirable versus undesirable. There's ways to have the same amount of development accommodated in the landscape without necessarily destroying the features that draw people here. There's some other imagery of before development, what traditional development does and what conservation development does. And one more here. Just another similar, I think that might be the same one. Oops. Anyway, cut and paste
Yeah,
from an
it's the same
earlier
one.
presentation. So anyway, against that backdrop, that's what a PUD is supposed to accomplish. It is supposed to allow you to take the same number of units that you would normally have and cluster them in a more creative way, and then deviate from the typical 1 acre lot requirements. You can't achieve what's on the left without some changes to what conventional zoning produces. You get what's on the right, and that's what happens. And developers typically are good people, but they also want to make a living and they want to do projects and they want to get in and out.
Most bang for their buck.
Yeah, I mean, that they're a business, you know, and that's what they do. So so zoning ordinances along about, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years ago started including planned unit development provisions that allow for developers to deviate from the normal standard of development and do something more creative. In Michigan, actually, probably about 20 years ago, they actually put in there a requirement in the Standard Zoning Enabling Act that said that you have to allow for this in your zoning ordinance, some sort of clustering provision. You had to do this, so it wasn't even an option. So
Is
anyway.
it still there or did it go away?
No, it's still in the state law and it's in our ordinance too, in our planned unit development. So this is probably the most common application of a PUD in a rural township like Whitewater. It's also possible to do a planned unit development in an area that would allow you to do mixtures of uses. What I've showed you is generally single family developments. You can also do planned unit developments that say we're going to let you do multifamily together with office and maybe light industrial. And you can put that into a project. Now, when you do that, we want to make sure that there's extra plan reviews because we want to be sure that there aren't conflicts between what you're doing and how it's laid out and all that. But so you can do not only play with the density in a PUD, you can also go and change the land uses around and allow for a mixture of uses. So there's lots of variations on that, but this is the whole basic underpinning of what a planned unit development is all about. And we have two provisions in our zoning ordinance now that address this. And so having said all that, I want to go on then to what we found in um, the work that Scott did.
This is in your packet.
Yes. Let me back up to the drawing that he actually produced last time. You remember,
Mhm.
this is the drawing he showed us where he took the legal descriptions of all of our zoning districts and plotted them on a map. And you remember at the last meeting, we said, this is great, but we also want to see the property lines too. And so he subsequently provided that to us. And that looks like that's what's up on the board here behind me. Oops, that's the, hold on a second. Sorry. That's the other map. That's this. This is, yes, which is exactly what's behind me here. So this was produced shortly after our meeting in June. Or no, actually, no, it was only a week or so ago that Scott provided this at our request. This is his work with the parcel lines shown on it. And as I said,
Where's the streets? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, wasn't he gonna put the street?
Yeah, I thought he said he was gonna put the streets on it.
yeah, and he didn't.
A lot of them are.
Okay.
The streets are there, there's just
Yeah.
names.
Yeah.
Streets are there.
Yeah, the streets are there. They're just not, you're right.
They're not named.
Yeah, they're not named. Well, we'll fix that. I mean,
Did he do that?
Yeah, it's in the packet.
it's in the packet. Okay, so this is what we asked him to do with the parcel lines. Again, went back and trying to reconcile the fact that our existing zoning map
Spaghetti bowl, bring it up.
looks like this. And we were wondering and curious about whether this matches his work. And we found, and as described in the packet, the areas where there are discrepancies. And so I want to point those out.
In the packet. It looked to me like all of the farmland had been eliminated. Because that color chart wasn't white, it was some little off color. So it is still farmland.
Yes.
I thought, what the heck happened? Because that color is not white. You know, there's a discrepancy there and I just didn't know what it was. Okay.
So this is identified as number 1 in your packet, the N district east of Moore Road. There is a issue with land that shows on our zoning map that we've been using as industrial or N. It's not according to Scott's work.
So we're talking about the issue in the green circle.
Right. Correct. I believe there's a house on that property.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, but we think it's,
Well, what should we do?
well, the work that Scott did should be the controlling element, I believe. I mean, we should follow the work that Scott did, which is based on the surveying
Well, yeah, because he did all the points. So what does that? put
he
that?
did. And I've heard, and I think you've heard, that our existing zoning map is of some unknown origin. They're not sure who did it, when
Yep.
it was done. So this is one issue, and I want to just point these out. We're not going to necessarily solve these problems right now. The second one had to do with Amendment 44. our zoning map showed that as being R3. And Scott's showed, according to Amendment 44, it was rezoned to PUD. The last meeting, I think Kim Mangus pointed out that the PUD project never went forward, if I understood her right. I'm not sure, but that project never went forward. But
So does it go back to R3 or does it stay as a PUD?
well, the action to create it as a PUD was done by the township board. I don't think it's just rescinded because they didn't do anything. I think we'd have to change it back.
And the white funny little character in the middle of the green circle, what's that?
That's outside the area that was PUD, so that looks like that was still agriculture.
So it's still white.
That,
That's kind of.
that, that doesn't look right. I don't know how it had to be there.
How would you end up with
It's
that
even in the
shape?
old map, it had funny mark.
Yeah,
It's
so
a-
how would you end up with that kind of shape, Michael?
Well, they're showing this in this.
Maybe
in
they
the
said this-
Adobe,
How the
they're
survey
showing
was
there's
done.
a couple other pieces of property.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look at it, it's really weird. The PUD's in the middle of the pieces of property. If you look at where the pieces of property are, the PUD's in it, and then the little part of it's an ag, and then that's it. So there's, the top of the circle is still ag, but there's two pieces of property. The bigger part and the smaller part are ag.
But he's not talking about the entire circle. He's
Just-
just circling that parcel.
Right,
Yes.
that's what we're telling you. If you look at this,
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't really matter, but it's. Look at how it, but look at how the property lines are. So how are the property lines in the PUD
Yeah, they don't
and the ag?
Right,
Nothing
the
matches.
district and the property lines don't match exactly.
So that's another issue to tackle. And then I went through all that PUD stuff to highlight the fact that we have two PUDs over here as well. One is off of Elk Lake Road and the other is off Playstrom. Playstrom Shores, is that what it's called?
Yep.
Shores.
The boundaries don't quite match. It looks like they're similar, but they're not. The one on Elk Lake Road looks like it matches, but not exactly. That's a small issue. And then we have another animal called the copud in the zoning ordinance. I believe that's intended to be commercial planned unit development, if I'm not mistaken.
But it's sitting in,
Okay,
Yeah, why would they want a co-fund for that particular piece of property?
I don't know. That's the Heights Machinery property.
yeah,
So it was done by amendment number, what, 50? That's what that
is
says.
that all Heights Machinery or does that go in, is that only part of Heights Machinery? Because that would go into the, well, it's for sale now, but it was basically
It's all good,
storage.
All one piece of property.
Yeah, but Heights Machinery is
So
here.
it's just the yellow piece, is that right, Randy?
Yep.
Okay.
Isn't there a house, Randy, where that gray piece?
There is, yeah,
Yeah,
there is,
house
there is a
there.
house
Yes.
there, but it's zoned industrial or N.
Why?
And
I'm gonna say, cause somebody that did.
then on the east side,
And their lines are supposed to-
we have a copud as well, and the boundaries do not match. The one that's in the lower right.
Heidi, we need one meeting here, okay? So if you have
Right.
a comment and.
I'm looking at this
Yeah.
with him.
Let Randy talk.
Go ahead.
So the lower right there is gin up sales. That was apparently done as a copud in amendment 42. But then across the road, north on 72, there's some discrepancies between what's shown on the legal descriptions versus what our map showed.
You know, what's interesting is they did a bunch of these all at the same, in the same time frame.
That's what I'm noticing too. But why wouldn't this stuff match the lines?
It could have just been missed when the legal was done. So I think there's one more here. Yes, our little commercial zone here, east of Island Lake.
Quick question. On when they do the zoning. When you set like this here, gonna be a co-pud. Do they say to this parcel? Or do they put down like longitude, latitude, all that?
Well, that's a good question because there's a legal description attached to these co-pud rezonings, I believe. I'd have to double check, but I think there are in all cases. The confusing thing about the co-pud district is that, and I mentioned this before, is that it defines this zoning district as being 500 feet on either side of the center line of 72. So it's defining that district, but then it says that after you approve a project in the co-pud, you rezone it to co-pud, which is strange because if it's already zoned that, there's no zoning action needed. So it's confusing, and I think it's just language that needs to be cleaned up.
What is COPOD? I don't recall seeing that.
In the new ordinance, it is Article 6.
But what does it mean?
Commercial.
Commercial, this is what allow you, this has additional development standards and there's additional requirements that were put in there. And I believe you could mix up land uses in there, if I'm not mistaken.
Like a strip mall or something along like that, right?
It's commercial property, I'm saying, but
It was oriented towards commercial development.
Only available on either side of 72. Right?
Correct.
And then there was some allowance if you wanted to extend it a little bit.
So the thing is zoned like this, Randy, because somebody was interested in doing something, or it was because the township was trying to make, trying to adhere to some rule they're supposed to adhere to?
I don't know. I can't.
Deb, can you
Might
answer
have
that?
been trying to get some developer, say, well, maybe that was it too, trying to.
Clarified my mind, and the question I had was, so you're saying the reason why this co-pud is going beyond property line is because they've designated the 500 feet?
The language just simply says that the co-pud district is property on either side of 72, 500 feet back, both sides.
So that where the, whatever color that is, going orangish or whatever that is, going past that line is because of the 500 feet.
Well, they rezoned that parcel to co-pud after they approved the project, which was Ginup Sales at the time. That was 20 some years ago. And so that action, now the other element of a planned unit development, whether it's the regular one or a co-pud, is that when you approve a project, you're approving deviation from the normal requirements of the zoning ordinance. You're allowing lots to be smaller, you're allowing frontages to be shorter, you're allowing setbacks to shrink in exchange for other things that are better designed. And so when you do that, there should be a list of what you approved and how any changes going forward are handled. For example, if you said, if in the case of a conservation development, if you said this lot can be a half acre instead of a full acre, then if they wanted to add on to that house, you'd have to describe, what's the new setbacks? I mean, are the setbacks changed? Is the height requirements changed? Is anything else from the normal zoning ordinance changed? We don't have that here, so I don't know what, if any, requirements apply when that land use changes from one thing to another, or if they want to add on to the building or demolish it and build something new. I don't know what we do.
If that's already in that co-pud in the red, and it was at one time probably in the red, then Ginups put that in there. And by the action of actually doing it, changed the colors, what we're kind of saying. So I guess at the end of the day, it still has the same designation, so it wouldn't have mattered, right? Because it was red and then Ginups put that in there and the color changed, but it was still the same.
It's been rezoned to
It's been
co-pud.
rezoned, okay.
It's been rezoned to co-pud.
Meaning
Okay.
They don't have to follow the standard.
Okay,
So, yeah, what I think I'm looking at is, so we're all talking about the co-pud overlay on the red commercial district, and that's up, and I think it's Renee's House of Quilting across the way.
Ross, wait, but what's the, what's the other yellow block?
Oh, you got it this week.
Is that the little strip mall thing there?
Yeah,
Oh, no, no, the
Or is that
environmental
Acme
place.
Christian thrift store.
That's on top, that's the,
that's a James Bucherini. James C. Bucherini owns that property.
That's a house.
That wouldn't be,
It's the-
that wouldn't be Copeland's, who does,
It's next,
Next
to
no,
the,
Acme.
it's next to the
uh,
thrift store.
would be the,
no.
So that's-
It's
not
between the
Copeland's.
thrift and
Copeland's
the,
Is, east of Renee's.
Isn't that the white
it's
building?
with a little pond in front of it.
Yeah, where that environmental place was.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what it is now, but yeah.
For sale. The white building, it had mattresses in there for a while.
So
Or
did,
is that one, sorry, Copeland's, the longer skin one that touches the road?
No, I think that's Renee's, because Renee's went all the way back. to the
Renee and
road.
Glenn Savage.
Oh, yeah, that went almost all the way back to Old 72. Yeah, there used to be that drive used to go all the way across there. We used to be able to travel a 2-track.
You
Right.
used to have a
through
2-track
there.
back there, because that's how you got to the gas station.
Okay.
Without going on 72.
There's,
I think I did, Randy, to answer your last bullet point, when I was reading the zoning ordinance this afternoon, I did see that they said you could go more than that. But,
Oh.
essentially, I think I read
30.
that today.
up to 500 to 700
I
feet, it
think
shows me
it
up to
does say
600,
You
yeah.
could go more
Oh,
than the
okay.
500 under certain circumstances. So the thing that's weird about all this, obviously, that you're saying is just. Your mind. All right.
what do you,
It doesn't matter that it doesn't match this little cartoon thing that we had by unlicensed people. That's not concerning, but I think, the stuff where it doesn't line up with property lines, that's a little odd.
Right.
So I think the question is, do you let that be an impediment to proceeding with your zoning map? And I don't know if Deb has an opinion over there.
You got an opinion, Deb? Come on up to the podium, because no one will hear you. Thank you.
Due to the fact that I've been looking at industrial and commercial being side by side, I went to the dimensional requirements and there are no dimensional requirements for a COPUD. It doesn't give any requirements whatsoever or any buffers either. So if COPUD is going to be in there, it looks like maybe it got left out or it's only specific to a specific parcel number.
Right.
So it might be a matter of really, I don't know. I've never heard of a COPUD before, ever. It wasn't in my training. It's like something that somebody came up with and said, well, let's just find out
On
what,
a copud.
so. I don't know. I mean, I've seen PUDs where they have requirements like narrower side yard setbacks or whatever. But those were all pre-done prior to zoning coming in. And this is just random, really, really random. So maybe they made a really big donation to the township or something and said, oh, I'll just do this now. I don't
So
know.
we know we have the document that the zoning ordinance was updated. We know we have that document that says it was legally updated. I guess the question only becomes when there's some variation to how it aligns to property lines. Did I get that right, Randy? This is it's a little mysterious or confusing.
Can I make a suggestion just to
Sure.
keep things moving? Maybe do a subcommittee to look into some of these properties independently and drill into them and then make a decision. But if you get a smaller couple people that want to do this and want to get into the nitty gritty, but go and look at each one of these properties and just see what's unique about them to see if you can either go to the board and recommend that they all be commercial properties or they all be whatever, but see if there's something unique and unusual about each one of them that you could get something consistent. Because you may want somebody that wants this in the future, or you may just want to say it should be commercial. but
Are you
just a
thinking,
thought.
Deb, to just get rid of the coal PUD, just make it commercial?
I'm not saying that. I'm just
Right.
saying, since it looks like each one is independent on that particular parcel,
When
just,
you look
just
at
go
that
do the research.
GPS, it-
Just kind of look
you
into
know,
them a
like-
little bit more. Normally, when you have a COPA, when you've got two designated zones next to one another, say you've got a house next to an industrial park. Well, the industrial wants to go buy that house and they want to incorporate that property into their business because it just makes sense. It's right next door. In most cases, you would go and say, I want to do a rezoning of this residential property or ag or whatever it is, and I want to bring it into the industrial zone. Well, there's a process for that. And these are real interesting because if you don't know what that COPUD is and why it is what it is and where it's located, what's going to keep it from all that section becoming COPUD? And all of a sudden you got condos, apartments, strip malls. Not that, sales is ever going to turn into an apartment complex, but I'm just saying if you broke it into a little smaller group and just let somebody go do some research before the next meeting and at least you understand it. Because I think I just heard it for the first time today when I talked to Randy earlier. So, if you want me to go dig into it, I can, but if somebody wants to, dig through the files and really kind of understand what that whole thing means.
I'll volunteer to do that because when we're looking on the GPS and there's no other, when we look at that map, we see defined lines. Then when you go to the GPS part, when you go to the GPS part,
Well, I go with land plots
he goes to land plots,
and there's, that secondary line's not there.
is not there.
So, I mean, I think we need to look more into just not only the PUD where the PUD's at, but maybe where some of these extra.
What's the
lines-
definition of it too?
I
So-
can't find the definition of a COPUD. I put in COPUD.
it necessary?
COPUD, one word.
Yeah, that's
think
the
it-
question.
Just get rid of
That's a
coal
bigger
PUD.
question.
Well, like, I think technically the COPUD, I don't think you can just get rid of it. They are still commercial, but allegedly they've been given some special dispensation on something, right?
So you
They
have to go
asked
back
for
and
it
start
for
at
a
the beginning.
reason. And so there's some kind of basically built-in variance is my understanding of it. after reading it.
During that session or whatever, there's no notes on what.
The only thing I have in the amendments is just the legal description of the changes and a description of changing it from what it was before to
We don't
COPUD.
have to go
Go to the minutes.
So it doesn't say why. One thing I'd like to suggest, though, I believe that Ginup hasn't changed hands, so there may be a property owner that may have insight into that. The other thing I would say, if that other piece, if that is indeed Renee's House of Quilting,
Yes.
Glenn was on this committee for a long time. And Renee was very involved in getting that set up and, they're still there.
Right.
Ginup kind of has changed hands, so,
I did not know they changed hands.
well, the guy that ran it.
Yeah.
Kind of took ownership of it.
Okay.
And it's called Whitewater Venture now. That's the company that owns it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
We could start by pulling.
I'm just saying there's a lot, if you really want to
Definitely.
dive into it, there's a lot you could dive into.
But you've got it right there. It's amendment 42, so that's probably the more recent one. And then that other amendment 43, that might not, if that is the one with the pond in front, that person's long dead. So.
You want to just start with this one?
I'd like to make
Well, we
a
haven't,
point.
nothing's been made, decision's been made yet, so.
The fact that these lines don't line up could be as simple as the fact that two different surveyors surveyed it. If, like, because of the curvature of the earth, there are things they call short miles. And if the one surveyor took off from the north and headed south, and the other guy took off from the south and headed north, they can come up with a line that they can't agree on. Okay, and I've seen this happen on many properties. Have you seen it happen in the agricultural district for people I've worked for? And right at the corner of Losi Road and Skeegmog Point Road, they don't know exactly where that corner is. There's two holes dug in the asphalt right there, and there's two different surveyors that say this is the hole that you survey off of, and there's another guy that says this is the hole that you survey off of.
Yeah,
So it could be just as simple as the fact that there's two different surveyors did it, and that's why it doesn't, the COPUD mark doesn't line up with the property mark. Maybe they were pulled from it could be a very simple explanation, actually.
My question is, because I just don't understand how this can even happen. So if a PUD, co-PUD, or whatever it is decided and it's gonna be this piece of property,
Yeah.
don't they just go out to the tax records?
You'd
This
think
is
so.
then it should match everything that the county has.
You would
You
think
would
they would
think.
copy the legal description.
Right.
Don't you
What
think?
happened to the legal description when this was designed?
Is
That's what the surveyor used, is the legal
Is-
descriptions.
COPA short
From the-
for
But
commercial?
legal description
PUD?
of the.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did he use the tax ID's legal description or somebody else's?
No, the zoning district.
No, when they took action to rezone, say gin up to Copud, there's a legal description in there, which I
Okay.
assume came from the property owner who should gave them a copy of their deed and said, here's my property. And they took the legal, I mean, obviously that was 25 years ago. I don't know.
I think it's a great idea to investigate a couple of them and just try and,
I
You know-
believe the House of Quilts was a variance requested because they wanted a shorter front yard setback or something. So every one of these may be tied to a ZBA appeal and they just gave it a certain category at the time. And it may be what it's determined as well. And that just happened to pop in my head because I did hear that, but I've never dug into any of this. So that's my suggestion.
well, you guys got
just to look
several to
into.
pick from in here. That's why Randy gave you some background on PUDs.
Well, if you want to just start with one and see how.
I'd
much
like
work
to,
it is.
I'd like to start with the one at Ginnups because it's got some funky lines that I don't understand and
I'll be more than happy to pull amendments and read.
Who knows? Well, you
Yeah.
can go to the Register of Deeds too.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking too.
All right, well,
So let me ask a
And-
simple question that highlights the problem here, and that is if something, God forbid, happened to gin up sales and then the building burned down and it's gone and new owners or current owners want to rebuild something maybe different, maybe the same. And they come to Deb and say, Deb, here's my plans. My question would be to Deb, what standards apply to that? How does she know if she can give a zoning permit for that? You would have to look at what the COPUD requires and there isn't anything in there.
it's it could be worse than that. I mean, they could find a piece of property down the road, move their thing to and sell to some big developer. It's already zoned.
They could. So, and then the question becomes what's permitted there?
Right.
And we don't have a clear answer. That's disturbing.
So
That's
So-
more important than the property
We
line.
pick it up one or
That-
two.
I'm saying that's a disturbing question that we can't answer.
yeah, because if you
you guys wanna
agree,
give us one or two?
What do we start with, one or two?
why don't you start with a minimum of one, and if
Okay.
you have time, go for two.
All
You
right.
can decide that. Thank you for volunteering.
Do you want do you guys want, okay, we have no definition of the commercial PUD. So we're gonna start with the parcel number and just see everything we can find.
Well, you know the date of the amendment. It's right
I
on
got
there.
the amendments.
So
I
you
wrote
go
those
through
down.
that.
We're
You
gonna
should
pull
be
the
able to
minutes.
trace back the minutes.
Try to listen, try to
We're
figure
gonna
out.
See
what-
if there's
Parcel tag
anything in the
first.
property file.
Right, okay, we'll just call the parcel file first. And go from there. And then once we see what we got. Maybe we'll ask some questions. I don't know if we wanna ask questions again, because you don't wanna tell them, well, hey, you can sell this down the road and I'll develop this, but.
No, we're not gonna ask anybody anything. We're just
I know
gonna get
either.
information, pull it together and discuss it ourselves.
How's that?
That's good.
Put it in a nice.
Well, and I
outline.
think it's a good idea too, that you can go to the Register of Deeds and pull their legal
Yep.
description. That's,
All right.
And we may find it, the best thing to do is just get rid of that definition of COPA.
I don't know that you can.
I don't know if we have
You
one.
can't, right? Isn't that part of the Michigan zoning?
No, we already have a PUD in there. There's two of them, so we didn't have to have both of them. Yeah, you could eliminate it.
I don't know that being called co-pud versus regular pud's the problem. I think the problem is knowing what we agreed to.
And it's not
Well, that's what we
That's-
a
got.
PUD anyways. It's just a commercial piece of property. That's what they're using it as.
But when you put the PUD on there, it gives them more. versus
That's
just
my
being
point.
commercial.
Be interesting. Here's another idea. Check the building permits, see if they ask for a permit in that time frame.
Yep.
Or after they got that. And see if their setbacks are different.
Okay.
All right, good.
So then the last one is just this commercial zoning at Supply Road and Williamsburg Road.
Oh, yeah, Michael, we can put a convenience store there, make lots of money.
So that's zone commercial. according to Scott's information.
31 or the 33?
In 33. 31 is Island Lake.
Yeah, that's a lake.
The 33 is the triangle right there, at Supply in Williamsburg.
Yeah.
Well,
So action was taken by the
board.
board to
I
rezone.
think
If
there's
that
Yeah,
seems
that's
I think
easy,
there's
we'll grab some.
more information on the Ginnett property,
Yeah.
right?
Does anyone know why it was rezoned to commercial?
I have no idea. That's would be interesting to know, and when,
Yes.
how long ago was that?
Last meeting, was it Kim, I think, mentioned that the state was gonna put a,
Gas station?
nope, some kind of a rehab. I'm not making this up in my head, am I?
No.
So I'm pretty sure what I heard.
That one.
Yeah, I can't read it.
Yeah, they were gonna do like a rehab center or something there, and then it just never happened.
Well, I think it came available is that one that's on the other side, is it Woodland Center or something like that?
Woodland Schools?
That's not what-
Yeah, I think that came available and they changed
26.
to that because it was an existing facility and they didn't have to build anything. I
Okay.
think that's what you would find.
Which
Right,
one? That
triangle?
one?
Corridor
Oh.
overlay.
Right.
Not commercial.
No, I'm saying they're using it as a commercial.
500 feet of 70.
Yeah.
Either 26 or 28.
26 or 28
I can't quite tell.
for that?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can look in your amendment book that you have. Okay, any further discussions? We're gonna hold a decision. Is that consensus? We're holding a decision on the new zoning map until we understand this a little better.
Yes, there's nothing here.
So I guess I would suggest that we go ahead and start putting that zoning map together in a draft form. And then we'll make the changes to it as necessary. I mean, I can go ahead and start that work now because 3/4 of it is correct.
Oh, okay.
So I would agree with Randy.
More like
Williamsburg Road.
95%.
It's much better than what we had.
Yeah,
So I
Yeah.
put this in there and then. and we
We're
can
up here.
order ourselves, we need to
and we'll,
take care of those little edits.
at least it'd be a conscious decision to leave this as is or fix it now. And I mean,
Do we have the authority to change these lines?
well, this is a zoning amendment. We're actually recommending it to the township board
Okay.
as a zoning amendment together with the book.
Right.
So a new book, a new map.
So can I clarify, is there some work you need to do with what Scott gave you in order to turn it into the map?
Yes, I need the layer that he gave us, or we had been working with Josh at the county for all the maps in the master plan
Okay, yeah.
and all the maps. And he has the zoning layer on his GIS system, so we can go and just have him adjust to what Scott has. And I
Okay.
can come up with a new zoning map. And it will have the same titles and the signature blocks. You know, I'd be able to identify, this is the official zoning map of Whitewater Township. The supervisor signs it, the clerk signs it. There's a list of places for amendments, so you can tell that you've got the most current one. There are several floating around the township now that from this
Right.
old thing, so we want to get away from that.
So does that include like a revision date block and a?
Yes.
And a change log kind of combination? Revision.
All future
change.
rezonings would be then recorded on that.
Good.
So there's no question about whether you're looking at the current zoning map or not.
Okay. All right, good. Any other comments on this topic? Okay,
So what I understand is we're gonna just put, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So what I'm understanding with then is what we're gonna do is just, however it lays right now is how we're gonna leave it.
For a draft, for the first draft,
Right.
and then subject to what you guys come up with in your investigation as to whether or not any changes. I mean, there was one other one too, I should have mentioned. that area where it goes commercial. Or I'm sorry, not commercial, shoot. Let me find my,
Right behind us, kind of.
9 minutes and all that stuff.
um. Not it. Hold on just a second.
I just have one,
Okay, here it is. I'm sorry, Carl. This area right here, I didn't list, but that's a discrepancy.
What is that?
That's the continuation of the 300 feet off of the creeks. It shows going into the RC district,
Oh,
and it doesn't show that on the zoning map. So that's just another area of discrepancy.
But that's a discrepancy with the cartoon map,
Yes,
not with a property line kind of problem.
right.
Like,
That's,
that
yeah.
doesn't disturb me at all, because that's just putting that buffer zone along the river.
Do you want us to look anything about that or no?
Well, the master plan recommends we do away with that because that's putting residential, high density residential along the floodplains, which is not a great idea.
I don't think you'd be allowed to build a house down. Loomis.
No, it makes no sense.
Right.
That whole yellow
You'd have to
strip,
you'd have to redefine it.
all of that along the creeks,
It's all very low
Streams.
land.
it's all wet, it's all
Right,
swampy,
right.
it's all
Eagle
floodplain.
isn't gonna allow you to build in there.
No, it should not be half-acre lots.
But
Well, it shouldn't be shown as something that
Right.
could be built.
Right, right,
Built on.
right. It's showing it at the same density as what you have along Elk Lake and Skagawag.
But you're saying there was some zoning ordinance description that described all this.
Yeah, this,
All the rivers.
it says 300 feet and then it along all of the
Tributary.
tributaries, right? Um,
Like,
So basically, they were envisioning houses all
well,
along.
like down on the end of Cook Road, some of that happened. And this,
It
this,
did, and now
this
they're
house that
fine.
Carl was just talking about,
That's
the,
exactly,
it was-
6 feet from the river.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And it's
So
single fence.
that was done in places that really shouldn't have been done in.
Absolutely.
And we're talking about trying to change it so that it doesn't happen
Well,
again.
And
why,
right now you couldn't do it.
Right now you
Yeah.
couldn't do it. The Eagle wouldn't let you do that.
well,
No.
how, I mean, can we be zoning state property?
That's not state property.
Sure it is, it just shows it is.
Let's see.
yeah, I mean, there's most of what's in the RC district is state property.
Oh, the.
All the green, all 11.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All
yeah.
11 is all
No,
state
no, I
property.
wasn't looking at 11. Okay.
I mean, there's some private, but most, it's probably
Yeah,
80%
Part of
state.
it, I think that is, there, bet there's some private property mixed within the state, I'll bet you.
Hey Keith, what tool are you using again?
X
All
Hunt,
those little
I'm
lots.
sorry, what again?
X Hunt,
Are excellent.
it shows all the
Yeah.
property lines and who owns it and
What is it?
X.
Samuel's Road.
Daniels?
That's the corner, the sharp corners on Bruin.
It shows the creek and everything and all that's in 11, but is in state property, so.
Those little lots are in state property?
No,
No.
all that, where it shows the rivers at is in state property.
Right.
Okay,
Anything else?
no,
Okay, so the next thing. Next agenda item is the zoning ordinance, new draft, yes, please.
please.
I just got a note from somebody from Zoom, Kim. She said CoPUD is the only way the PC would allow Heights or any other owners to develop their property.
That's
Everything
right.
was a special use.
And get up sales. And Heights Machinery, they have a fake front. If you look at their building, they have a little thing like this. And technically their ceiling goes all the way to the top because they needed it when they jacked the trucks up. I remember that.
Okay, so that's another source for you,
What's that?
another source of information for you.
Yes.
Okay. And as you guys, I know you're all excited about COBUD, but I did read a lot of this afternoon. And it's Article 6 in this big draft here. Go in here and check it out. Okay, so this is the one that this is our choice of how to do this, but you know, Al took a stab and I put it in the packet of just going it through it front to back. You've got the two versions. This is the one with all the markup and the explanation as to what was changed and why. And then this is the final document. The one that looks like this, the full size. So Randy, as the author of this document, I figured since he's gotta take notes on feedback and stuff, it'd be good for him to kind of, maybe you want to kind of MC the conversation.
Okay, but let me start with a couple of things and then, Al, these are all Al's comments, so I don't know. I've read through some of them, but I'm not sure I understand exactly what his comment is, but first and foremost, what you have is a reorganized zoning ordinance.
Right.
And there's a sheet of paper that describes
Yeah.
what was old and what's new.
Yeah.
This might just be a old planner thing, but there is a certain way that zoning ordinances are organized and ours isn't it. It's just,
Surprise.
you know, there's a certain cadence and a certain, you put material that together that is related and similar and it builds on itself. And so I couldn't help but resist the temptation to reorganize it. And so it's not terribly different. Most of the reorganization happened in the front part of it. But there's a key here so that if you need to go back and forth between what was in the old ordinance versus new, you've got it. The other thing I wanted to mention is that you have a document also that has the amendment list. It was updated June 5th. There was a struggle to get all the amendments clearly listed in this. There were some that were missing. There was some also, as I mentioned before, a practice of numbering amendments that weren't adopted. In other words, the planning commission or somebody gave them a number and it went to the township board. The township board did not act on it for whatever reason. And so it died and then they numbered the next one, a different number. So we were stuck with a number of amendment numbers that didn't go anywhere. So,
So that explains the ones with the lines through them.
yes,
Where it goes
yes,
from like 74 to 77.
yes. So I mentioned that before, but just so you're aware, and then there's also a description of what the amendments were to help navigate the process here. So that'll be helpful as you're looking at these rezonings.
Yeah, these rash of PUDs over a 10-year period.
So with that backdrop, then you also have this document here, just for visual, replaces this.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very
Lot
much.
better.
So which one should we be reading? This one right now?
Well,
Or this one?
there's two. There's one shows the notations made and the other is without the notation shown.
So these are the notations and then this one with no rank. Is it covers the word?
But what you also have is a document that is one document, one Word document, not 35. You have a document that has hyperlinks. So you just click on the section. Thanks to Denise for helping me check those because it's tedious, as you can imagine. It's nice to have another set of eyes looking at it. And my best effort to pull this together into a single document that still needs a lot of work. I mean, this is not the end of the rainbow here by any means. This is building a foundation that I think we can build on to make changes to sections as called for in the master plan.
So this
So-
is our foundation, and then hitting the master plan would be like building up to our first floor.
Yeah, I made the comment and I stand by it from about a year ago that I wasn't going to work on any zoning amendments until we get this thing straightened up. Because I don't know what we're amending. I mean, there were amendments on top of amendments and confusion about. So it doesn't make any sense until you get a document that looks reasonably accurate, that there's a table of contents you can link to. You just click on it and it takes you to that section. I don't know how Deb can work with this. She must play pulling her hair out every day trying to issue
Put
permits.
a hair on her head, we're good.
Okay, so as we go through this, I'm gonna suggest that we don't waste a lot of time on spelling errors, punctuation or anything like that, because I've got mine marked up in red and I can just give it to Randy. And he can just go through it and pick up the red marks. So if you see those, I think that's fine. So it should be more focused on content. And I know the way Al did this was, if you want to look in your packet, I know you're juggling a lot of documents, but he just tracked them through this document. You know, Randy kind of labeled each change has a number. It just goes sequentially right through there. So up to you how your brain works, but you know, I mean, we should be able to go through page by page and say if we agree with the changes or if we have concerns. I mean, the beginning is pretty straightforward with title, scope, and definitions.
What I did with them going through and I just labeled on RM1, RM2, and wait to the very end. And looked at each one, and what I was thinking, Linda, if we just started with RM1 and we're in agreement, let's just move on to RM2. And I do believe, I think there was close to, I think there's 100 and close to 200 of them. But I think we could get through them all if we've all already looked at them. So we all probably have an idea of what we'd like it to see. And I honestly think if we just started with one, we could probably get through these in an hour and a half.
All right, well, why don't we see how far we can get, how long we can stand it, but yeah, these sections.
This really helped Randy.
We can
Page 21 right here. I know you're juggling like 4 things, but I think we can do it. Might have to kick some stuff off your desk, like I'm gonna do.
I don't know what happened to the font in the markup version, but the table of contents, but that's an easy fix.
You can fix all that little stuff.
Okay, thank you.
All right. You want me to lead you through it or?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't
You want
know.
Al to?
I mean, I'm interested in hearing what comments
So
we
I
have.
can
and-
comment one. Now, Randy, you got kind of a secret decoder ring here, but I think this first note just was relative to section 1.01. And it just said, it's just referencing same as Article 1, Section 1.
Yeah.
So that's really I don't mean this in a disparaging way. That's really kind of a nothing thing.
Yeah,
right?
just,
Like, it's not a debatable change.
yeah, just delete it. Move on to 2. When I say delete, I mean, accept the change that Randy has
Yeah,
made, it's highlighted, and then move on.
It's a good
Mhm.
point.
Yep,
You said delete, but that's. delete.
accept the change.
We'll just put, accept it, just put a, or an okay, you're okay with it.
Randy's taking his own notes over there,
Yeah.
right?
So we're good with 1? right?
Yep, I think
Good.
we're good with 1.
Okay.
So then we move on to number 2. So this was just a terminology change.
And I
So
think-
is everybody okay with that? Says the term zoning ordinance is more common in the text.
Well, I'm good. Okay.
Good,
3 and 4?
let's do 2 at a time.
I'm fine.
Well, some of them's
Yes,
common
They're
sense.
very,
so
they're
yeah.
very similar.
Just go ahead and take if one of us have a problem, we will speak up.
Okay, so
Okay.
we're okay with 3 and 4?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, number 5.
Agree?
Okay, so that's within a subdivision as opposed within recorded subdivisions. Everybody okay with that?
Mhm.
All right, number 6, that's another same as Article 2. All right, flip the page, item 7. You guys chime in if you want.
Yeah, recommendation was to move, and I would agree with that myself.
Yep.
Yep, I agree.
Yep.
Number 8.
Agreed.
that
I'd
one
agree.
okay?
Yeah, I would agree.
Hey, Randy, you let us know if we get out on the edge.
What's that?
You let us know if we get out on the edge on this.
Number 9, I agree.
Maybe some clarification on 9.
Yeah.
We'll go right here, number 10. Several move because of alphabetization. Okay,
Agreed.
I think I'm good with that.
So one other point too, the ordinance, because a lot of sections were adopted independently, had definitions in that article,
Right,
which left you confused because there were some that conflicted with what we had and so they're all the definitions are in one place for the whole ordinance,
Yeah.
which is the way it should be.
That way you don't have to go back and forth
Okay,
to the
that's
ordinance
good.
to see if you
Yep.
can find
Okay.
definitions there.
Right.
all right,
Agreed.
number 11.
Agreed.
I had
Updated
11,
later on.
excuse me, I had 11 replaced with 4.03. Or yes, and that would be agreed, I guess.
Okay. And then number 12, this is a new definition for adult foster care facilities
Yep, by the-
allowed in residential districts.
There was I took the one off the state, it's a Public Act 218 of 1979. And it explains what an adult foster care, and there's 3 different types. If we wanted to adopt that,
You'd have to
that
change
would give
the-
us our definition,
Right.
definitions, and it'd be backed up by the,
Yeah.
backed up by the state. So if we wanted to adopt that, we could, and I have that definition here, so.
So he already referenced Public Act 218,
Mhm.
1979 here. I'm just looking.
Yeah, my question was, what ours reads right now, it references that, but this gives it much more clarity. It's only another small paragraph, but there are 3 types. There's a family, a small group home, and a large group. If we wanted to clarify that further, if we wanted to, we could put that in there.
What do you think of that, Randy?
That's
Thinking
more of
we
a bigger
did
change than I
that.
think what.
thought we,
Well.
That's on page
we're not
21.
Really changing, but
We're-
there's 3
cl-
different.
Yeah, we're clarifying.
versions. You're clarifying, so you're telling them, here's 3 clarifications of what could be out there.
Yeah, and the state's defining this. It isn't like we're defining. It tells you like 5 or less, or 12, or 2 or more. So it tells you what a family, a small, and a large is.
Right, because some foster care can be considered, just 2 weeks of foster care while somebody goes on vacation, they need somebody to take care of grandma or a handicapped person.
Did you see that, Randy? Did you see
I'm
it?
looking
Right
for it here.
Right here.
But, oh, I was thinking we dealt with it, but I'm not.
I
don't
thought
think we did.
I thought I read it in here somewhere else where the 6 or less and then the more than 6. I thought I read that later
In
the
here?
zoning ordinance. Yeah, in
Oh,
the zoning.
Yeah, I
ordinance.
didn't see
But
it.
is it?
Not in the definitions, but later. I think what Randy did is he just called them adult foster care facilities. And when I read the rest of the zoning ordinance, it talked about what districts were allowed, how many people in
Which
the
kind.
AFC,
Mhm.
like the
Or what
quantity.
kind?
Would it be wise
I-
if we're gonna define it, to just define it here?
Well, and I'm also wondering if it's under,
I want to check and see if we did that.
Okay, we can move on, no, I was checking, right?
I mean, that's
Okay.
that's a good point. I want to be sure if because what happened was the state of Michigan and other states said you can't zone some of these facilities out. And so that's why the definition is important. And so,
I know I read something else later. I just don't.
let me find that.
Putting that in definitions doesn't seem like it hurt anything.
Agreed.
Right there, then it tells you that there are different kinds.
Mhm. And then what this one does, this is verbatim from the state, from this act.
Right.
And it tells you that the state, and then there's the state of Michigan. who has, who oversees this.
It might be in section, like right in there, Randy, 404, 405, 406. Maybe, I think that's where it was.
Try to find that. Want me to just look into that and then we'll come back to it? And-
Sure.
Or just so we can keep moving and
Okay.
I will.
So 12,
put up-
put a highlight, come back.
And I can
It's a
search.
question of if we want to add the additional information or not. I think there's not a problem with his number 12. It's just, do we want to enhance it with that? Okay, so
Well,
the
I just want to make sure the term family home is used or small group home is used, because it doesn't make sense to define it if we're not using it in the ordinance.
Right, because you
No,
you
that's a
use
good
the
point.
definition of adult foster care, and there's also, it could be considered a family home, a small group home, or a large group home.
That should have come up, Randy, right with that act.
Well, it kind of defines it because it says there's 3 types of AFC and adult foster care. Isn't that what AFC is, adult foster care?
yes,
Okay.
and then those are subdivisions.
Right. So would the AFC cover?
Okay,
everything
here it is,
small group?
right here. 4.04 uses permitted by right, adult foster care facilities serving 6 or less. Then section for residential R2 intent. Somewhere in here. Let's see, here it is, there, they have residential care facilities, convalescent or nursing homes. By special use permit on that one. Oh, sorry, back up to 4.04 under R1. So the 6 or less is under uses by right. This is where I read adult foster care facilities serving more than 6 individuals. That's for R1. Then R2, you're allowed everything that was in R1. And then add on to it, that's where you can add the residential care facilities, nursing homes. So that's where I saw it. So I think it's in here, but we're just, our zoning ordinance doesn't use
Well,
those
Rand,
subtitles. It just uses the quantity of residents.
right. To Randy's point, we're not using those titles. We're
Right.
just stating the rules. So we, because we're not using those titles.
I
maybe
don't
it
know
is-
that we need.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to put them in it.
Randy, you look like you're still pondering.
But this,
Yeah.
this here's from, this
Yeah.
here, this here is what I think they could go back and say, well, the state says I can do this. And whether it matches our zoning, I mean, if the state clarified or is specific to 6, 12 or larger, is 13 to 20. I mean, if we just followed their definitions.
Yeah.
We could make if that had to go to court for some reason, we can certainly defend that.
I think we still, but we still have all the information because we address it. They're all AFCs. It's just the state defines ones that
3
are 6 or
types.
fewer, but it looks like we're still just defining them based on number.
The number of people allowable.
The number of allowable people, and we're just saying you can have the larger amount, you can go from family home to small group home. In R1, it's just if you go to small group home with 12 people, you just have to get a special use permit. And then if you want to increase beyond that, you have to be in the R2 district, is what that says. I mean, to me, it's clear. I don't know if I need all these extra words.
How many places is that all in one place?
It's all in that little.
That's all the
little
only
thing.
place I saw.
It's all on page 4-2.
But what's funny is here, as you go down, there's that word dwelling, so you're taking dwellings from multifamily to dwelling. Cause that was my concern about that word. That's gonna be really interesting, okay.
So Al, did Public Act 218, did that use the terms family homes, small group homes and large group
This one
homes?
here,
That's what he's saying, yeah.
yeah, this one here, I think, we got the public act and then this
Okay.
one here. What's the definition? State holiday and then it have agency that control.
Maybe that definition could be expanded then somewhat to mention family homes, small group homes by sizes, just.
But then do you
Change that.
think you need to tie that terminology into
No,
section 4?
I think it all falls under the heading of adult family.
Yeah, we're not. having
Facilities,
separate- We're
and
not
then-
having separate districts for them, right?
No,
No.
And I don't see why we need to.
the distinction is just the number of people. So let me look at that again. then.
Couple districts.
All right, so Randy, you're gonna consider this change? Yes. You're gonna evaluate it further? And we're not all.
Okay.
yakking. All right, so let's move on to change 13.
And I had adopt.
And that was just a nothing, right?
Yep,
It's
good.
Just from a different one, so that's acceptable. But you have a note below on that, Al,
Yeah, adopt, let me see, it was 13.
the property returning. to-
Yeah, it had the property, the definition. I took this off of, to have a definition of the property. What was it, 13? Amend definition to comply with, the requirement. I had referring to a physical, property land encompassing not only the buildings, but also surrounding land and any structures or fixtures attached to it. This definition is particularly relevant when it comes to a liability and responsibility associated with owning or occupying a specific location. And, and that gives a definition of the property.
So where's that comment go? I'm not sure where it goes.
That,
Cause this change 13 was all about adult bookstore or adult video store.
it was,
The word store was highlighted. I'm just wondering if that note got
I
displaced.
think that was up there, I think that was up there on, accessory buildings, yeah.
Oh,
Okay, yeah,
Oh.
so skip that. Mhm.
okay, so do we need that note or are we good with what we got?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, so I'm Xing that one out. Okay, so R14. Change from the purpose of this section. So this is another section change.
That looks good.
Hate to do it, but I'm just gonna ask this. Why 6-month period? And who picks which 6-month period? Low period? or
It's
fast?
existing language that I didn't want to mess with.
Okay.
Quite honestly, I mean, it's,
I was just curious. I mean, why wouldn't you pick a 12-month period?
I don't, that's what they picked.
Huh. I'm fine with what Randy's got down here.
Well, and especially since we have one of these, we can't really mess with the definition.
No, we can't mess with it. I was just curious why.
Okay.
It's like,
All right, so 14's okay, 15.
I agree.
What really changed there? I guess I'm not sure. Changed from display area.
There's not much change.
Okay. I think that's. You guys all okay with 15?
Yep.
16, that's just a numbering thing.
right? 17, same.
16, 17, same thing.
You see?
Uh-oh, number 18, listen. Oh,
18
it's
too?
the same kind of thing, though.
Yep.
It's just from another.
So is
section.
19.
18 and 19 are okay. Okay, now we're back to this list again, number 20. I agree with that. All right, so this was just some little bit of editing of the words. 21. Well, Al's got some notes on this one.
Yeah, that one here was, on the bed, the definition, our definition of bed and breakfast. And, on the note one up here on 21, that, I took that off the state, it was, statute 125.150.11504B, and it defined a bed and breakfast. So I didn't know if we'd wanna put that into our definition.
Problem I
Yeah,
have
I-
with this bed and breakfast one is, it says has 10 or few sleeping rooms, including the innkeeper, and then you can also rent to transient tenants, but how many people are you putting in each room? Cause you're given 10 sleeping rooms. Are you putting single beds, double beds, bunk beds? How many people can, because at what point is you're having one person on, in the place? When is span of control a problem? At 50 people? 60 people?
But this is what's currently in.
I
the-
Yeah, this,
understand that.
yeah. I don't
Well-
think they addressed how many you could put, like you said, if you got, 2 twin beds, can you put 4 per 10 rooms? There's 40, so.
So
Can you do that? But the state didn't address
the
that.
state doesn't address it anywhere either.
So,
I'm confused here. So the bed and breakfast doesn't have a number?
It has, it has, you can have 10 or fewer sleeping
No, I'm
rooms.
talking about here in the comments here. So comment, we just
Comments.
did
He's
RM
got one
20.
comment,
And
RM 21.
So Al,
Yeah.
I'm confused because I thought I did take the state definition.
this is that's what I got.
I mean, it came from, I cited the sections here, what?
Yeah.
MCL 125, 154B.
So it actually says you deleted this definition that said
Backhaul network?
almost exactly what Al pulled up here. So bed and breakfast, you changed it to just say a single family residential structure that meets the following criteria, and then you have your 3 items.
Right, and that's from state law.
Okay.
agree
I
with that.
thought, I mean, did you find something different or?
No, that's where that came from was.
Well, I guess you can have 20 people.
Oh, and
per
there
room if
is
you
the
want.
note about the 10 sleeping rooms.
Stack
You're
'em up.
right.
That's what bothers me,
30
because
people.
they want
So-
somebody on the premise, which
No,
was,
it's,
So we're in agreement. Okay.
Has a smoke.
so the 10 rooms are
Well,
from the state.
We have, it.
Single residential,
We have all this except for the very heading.
This is what you
yeah,
have.
right.
What-
So I think we're fine.
Yeah.
This is what,
Hard to weed.
this is state law. This is what you have.
Exactly.
well, it says it's under the code of
This is-
family single structure and should not be treated as a hotel or other
Should be
facility
same thing.
serving transient tenants. So did you take out the one person can have rent a room? No, it's still.
No, it's there.
I got it right here.
At least one room available.
And the state, that definition is right from the state.
Okay.
That's 10 or fewer sleeping rooms.
Here it is right here, section 4B. This is right from the state.
Oh,
right
yeah,
here.
yeah, I'm good with that then.
Notwithstanding the exemption provisions
Because
of
we had the
section
same thing,
8.
didn't we?
So now go to section 8.
Let's see where's.
Okay, are we
Yeah,
ready to move
yeah,
on?
you got it
guys?
with that.
Yeah.
All right, 22.
I had let stand.
Yeah. So this is just a comment that we should come back to this after the zoning clarification
Okay.
project is what he's saying there. All right, so we okay with that one?
Yep.
Which one's that?
22?
Yeah.
And then 23 is the next one. So this is about building coverage.
Yeah, building footprint and building coverage.
Yeah, he said
Yeah,
your
I
coverage
remember
footprint are the
Randy
same.
explaining that to us before and the issues he had with it.
Yes.
Did you look at them, Randy? No, there was different, and this was
Okay.
new that took from Oxford Law.
Oh, and footprint's the next one. Yep,
Yeah.
Building.
we're good with that.
I'm good with them.
I just took mine from my planning dictionary.
I think
Yeah, I'm
that's
good with
probably
it.
better.
I mean, I've got show you what a geek I am. I have a book of zoning definitions at home that is about
Yeah.
2 inches thick.
Yeah.
But
So are we
It's like a
okay with
tool.
Yeah.
23 and
Yep.
24?
I am.
Yep.
Okay. Ready? 20,
I had agree.
Yep.
yeah,
wait a second. You're changing. Not to build.
yeah.
Definition change.
Okay, you guys good with that one?
Yep.
You're on to 26. The ever popular definitions for a condominium project and conversion were updated in Amendment 86. So they're all part of the zoning ordinance now.
Okay, so this is just a corrected to meet what the amendment shows, correct?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good with it.
Okay,
Okay, 26.
we good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Discuss it meeting with. total-
27, this is just one of these, moving the numbering system.
I had
27.
27 through 34 is all kind of the same. All
28. Okay, let's look. 29, 30, 1, 2. Yeah, but 33 is a little different.
Yeah,
okay,
So 33, he just put some additional clarification in parentheses because establishment is all about these sexually oriented businesses. I never knew I'd have to read so much about that.
I didn't either the other
It's-
day.
it's already in
Oh
there.
my lord.
All right, so we're on to number 35. Bunch of red text, and this is the famous discussion about farm market and is the other one farm stand?
Mhm. One's covered by Gales, one isn't.
yeah, I'm good.
Randy, can I just ask you a
Correct.
question so my notes are correct? Back on RM 26, you have at meeting with total focus on these verbiages, clarifying corrections, adopt via roll call vote, approving in total, whatever that word is, totality. Totality. This is what needs to be fixed down the road, in your opinion? I'm trying to understand what you want on here. Is this note on your notes here? Something down the road, because it's not, because it's a change, not a clarification? I just don't understand. I'll ask you later, but
I can't remember what we have for farm market, but I was trying to align it to what the gaps are.
right, no, I went back to 26 real quick.
And I
You
think you're
said-
looking at Al's notes.
Yeah.
So Al, what did you mean by number 26? I'm trying to relate that to what I just read and I don't. Is this something you want fixed down the road? Corrections and adopting the roll call vote?
let me see, 26.
We're on 30.
No,
I am, but I
No.
wanted to know what his comments meant.
no, we're good.
Just ignore it, scratch it
Yeah,
off?
we're good.
On the farm market.
I think we just talked about the farm market thing, so all that red text.
I'm good with that.
So this is a new definition. We don't have,
And
I
you're
think-
saying that we might need to revisit this again later, is what your notes. are.
well, because of the discussion in the master plan about agribusiness and whether or not,
Aggie tourism.
and ag tourism and whether all that is accommodated properly in the zoning ordinance. It's,
No, no,
It's
these
not-
definitions were taken off the state, it's Act 92. So when we do revisit those, if we wanted to adopt with the state, this is the state's definition of a farm market, a farmer's market, and a roadside stand. So it gives you clarity between them. So if we want to use that, we could, where I ever had to go to court, whether it'd be a slam dunk, so.
All right, so we're on to 36.
this is where the existing ordinance has development requirements and the definitions, which is the last place I
Right.
want to put it.
So you just moved it.
Yes.
That stuff into the zoning ordinance. So this is just simplified the definition of fence. So I think we're good with that. And then in 37. This is the definition of floor area, is that right? So this is floor area and he deleted out footprint. Okay. Everybody okay with 37?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then moving on to, I don't know what happened to the numbering, Randy, 38's missing.
This was 39.
Yeah. so
We'll just go to 40.
It's okay, we'll just go to 40. So all that encompasses all those changes. So this is the new definition of floor area, okay?
Looks good.
Good with
And
that.
then 41, that's just a move
Yeah.
from section 3014.
Looks good.
The next one's similar
Looks good.
and edited from except where otherwise defined in this article. Shall mean maximum.
Good. Looks like we're good down to 46 for sure.
47 though.
6. Oh, 47 says discuss and redefine. Put on the brakes.
Okay, lot area. Okay, let's see, for discussion. 47. Now the lot width, it had a straight line distance between the lot sidelines measuring at 2 points where defined width lines intersect the side lot lines. You know, I guess what you're looking for here is just a definition of the lot line. Is that right, Randy?
Yeah, and that's, lot width is deceptively simple because you think that's pretty easy, but the problem is you have cul-de-sacs.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not uncommon to have kind of pie-shaped lots. So rather than require all lots to have frontage all around the cul-de-sac, or if there's an eyebrow turn or different kind of layouts where subdivisions, you know, have curves in them, you typically would measure the lot width at a point from the setback as opposed to at the right-of-way line. You follow me? Is that?
Right.
Yeah,
What you're
Should have
saying
been-
makes sense, but it doesn't say it precisely in there. It just says the horizontal distance between side lot lines measured. Oh, you do say that. Never mind, I see it now. At the required setback. Yeah, because I had a note on that wondering about irregular lots, and that's exactly what you're talking about.
What are you trying to determine a lot area?
So for lot width, I guess I was jumping ahead to that, and that relates to lot area, but I think one of the issues in lot area calculations is that, it's, at number one, it's defined as being areas not broken by a, road, like a public road. You can't calculate land on both sides of the road as being part of the lot area. And then also, it doesn't include any right of way, any public right of way. So oftentimes legal descriptions go to the center of the right of way.
Mhm.
So that's not, the lot area doesn't include public or private right of way.
So does this apply to just, when you use the word lot, what's the difference between lot and parcel? Or is it the same?
I don't know, do we call out parcel?
I don't know. I just
Yes.
thought of this question.
Cause I was gonna say my property's cut with a street.
Yeah, we have both definitions here. And we have parcel too.
So I'm wondering, does lot apply more to like a piece of land just for a home? Like a homestead lot versus a parcel, I've got 40 acres. Are you gonna measure my lot width? Or like, how do I know which one of these?
I don't. Sometimes those terms are used interchangeably. That's a good point, though. I don't know if we should do both.
And does the state have, you know, what's occurring to me is this messy issue of the 4-to-1 ratio. This is what I'm thinking about right now. What do you do with irregular lots to know
always-
what's with?
I think of parcels as being larger tracts of land than lots being
That's
smaller
kind of
building
how I
sites.
do, but
But
But is that legal with the state of Michigan?
I don't know what Deb thinks.
I think they have, the description of some things I've looked at. You can have lots and sides of, inside a parcel. You don't have a parcel inside a lot. So you could have a parcel of land you bought, it could be 50 acres, with one piece parcel, and you could then subdivide within it if you have lots, various.
Come on up
Like
here,
it-
Deb.
So your parcel in
There we go.
definition says a parcel has meets and bounds or described in a recorded plat.
When you have a parcel, it's gonna be meets and bounds. When you put it in a plat, it's gonna be described based on how deep it is, how wide it is. And a plat's usually part of a subdivision or a PUD, and, correct me if I'm wrong, Randy. But 40,000 square feet is the number you need to shoot for, and you can't create a lot less than 40,000 square feet, and it
It's
still
not
be a
acres,
buildable lot
40,000.
in the township. So if somebody's gonna come in and it's gonna have wonky sides, or it's still gotta be a minimum 40,000 square feet in order for it to be a buildable lot. So
Not an acre.
factor that in, and then based on what the location of the property is and what the zoning is, what the width is of that lot, like an ag. If it's gonna stay ag, it's gotta have 200 foot of frontage, I believe. So
Yeah.
there's a width, depth, and it's kind of defined in different parts and components. So it's,
You look at the,
every property is looked at independently. so
I just saw in the definition, a lot is defined as a parcel. When you go to parcel, it says it's a lot.
Lot.
I just read that, so what do you do?
I mean,
Yeah.
I like that one.
in in
Pretty
MPL
circular.
560.186, it defines final plat, lots and outlots. I don't know if you want to look at that at all or not, but
Well, I would suggest in looking at doing a search through the document and see how the terms are used. For one,
You do that.
that would help.
So you want to
Maybe not,
capture
I just
that.
flag that
Straight
as an
line.
issue to,
Want to revisit this one?
yes,
Okay.
So we're revisiting 48.
Or actually eliminate those.
or Deb can,
no, 40,
Just eliminate.
So it's a little
47.
different. You're determining.
Yeah, 47.
47.
47 is what we're.
Well, 47 is attached to lot area.
Mhm.
Lot
Yeah.
width is attached to change
I think we need to look at both of those because
48. So
I
40,
think they're related,
Yeah.
really.
so this is, the action on that then is to investigate.
see if we're
terminology.
using those terms like the state's using those terms and
Get that, Lois? Terms
I can look
Lot
those up
versus
and bring them
parcel.
in next meeting and,
Well, Randy said he would also
Okay.
search the document and see what's,
okay.
this is the
So,
definitions,
also
what's he
look at
using, and
parcel,
where is he using
parcel
lot,
lot.
where is he using parcel?
yeah, I think the lot stuff typically comes from a condominium subdivision or some platted subdivision and a
That's
parcel.
my impression too.
state has it listed by number of square feet.
Irregardless, I'd love it if you would define how to measure irregular lots, because that's always the pickle, right? Because I've also seen people when they're measuring like a setback and they want to measure it diagonally instead of perpendicular, and I think you addressed that in here somewhere. Okay. All right, so we're coming back to those. 49 is just moving from a different item number. I think we're okay with that.
Agree with that.
We all having fun yet? 50,
Agree?
Agreed?
added definitions of a master plan. Oh, that's a good idea. 51,
I had moved from 86.
yeah. Definitions. of
The
a-
project was updated amendment 86. Okay.
152, that's just another move from a different article. Same thing with, so 52, 3, 4, they're all the same kind of thing.
Agree.
Fifty-five. Added definition for an official zoning map. Yep.
Mhm.
Talked about that earlier. That's good. 56. This is also just one of these ones moving from a different section. Same thing with 57.
58, 50.
And then this is just like a, yeah, that's just like mark that. Okay. 59. Improved definition of outdoor display area.
This had a lot of controversy at one time. So this was how many things you could put out in front of your store. Like, how many tractors can Tractor Supply put out front, or how AIS, how many big machines can they put out front? Might want to look up some background information
doesn't.
on this.
This doesn't say anything about quantities.
No, it doesn't.
No.
think
I-
we better-
It's just defining what it is, and if so,
Right.
if there was a
Yeah.
site plan, you would be able to say the outdoor display area is this, and you've got a definition for what that is.
Yeah.
So this is just clarifying the difference between outdoor display, outdoor inventory, outdoor light fixture, and an outdoor sales area. I guess those, the first two and then the fourth are very similar.
Yep.
And comment 61, he says he added the definition of outdoor sales area.
Well, the point is outdoor sales, display and inventory can all be different things.
Right,
Mhm.
okay. Is everybody okay with those?
Yep.
Mhm.
Hang on, I just missed this thing. Al, you had some notes on number 59.
59. I think we're good with that one, Linda.
All right.
Yes. Mhm.
All
So
right.
you looked up
What
the,
is-
the outdoor lighting and checked out if it's adaptable to the ordinance?
Yeah, the outdoor lighting requirements, the state has a definition that if we wanted to adopt, if ours wasn't clear, they have a definition that we could adopt to our township and readjust it and fit it if we wanted to. And that was 24.75.104.
Okay, but did you check our ordinance on outdoor lighting?
There's different. There's different.
Okay.
But if we wanted to, if we do decide to redo ours, we could take a look at that, see if there's some things in there that might fit.
All right, the next one is 62. This is just adding clarification after the word permittee, so you
52
know.
and 63 are kind of the same.
I got all that down to 75. Oh, that's,
Is
So-
this right, Randy, that we're only gonna use this word permittee and permit are always only with respect to sexually oriented uses? Is this correct?
I read that too. and
Correct? I
wondered
mean, I
about
just think
that.
it's
I
kind of
don't-
strange. That's the only time we're gonna use the word permit.
It just came from that section of it was intended to be only for that portion of the ordinance, so. I think
Oh, okay, so that's the clarification.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
So that's why.
And then how far did you tell me to go down, Al?
I went down to 75.
Ripping down all the way to. Okay. Al's saying we go all the way to 75 here.
26.
26. Okay. So then
It's
77.
just a comment.
One quick note about the sign stuff is
Yeah.
it's mentioned,
Definition there.
the sign ordinance needs to be completely redone from start to finish. The Supreme Court case in about 15 years ago said you cannot regulate signage by content. You can't say it's a real estate sign, it's a political sign. It's any name that you give it cannot imply the message on the sign. They said that was a limitation on free speech. It's sent a lot of communities into a tailspin about figuring out how to redo their sign ordinances to adapt to that. It's very complicated to do that. You would say then temporary signs. Temporary signs would include a whole bunch of things. But you can't say political signs, the regulations are this, yard sale signs, the regulations are that. You know, real estate signs are this, because you're regulating it by a category of speech. And so, I mean, just to give you an idea, before I retired, one of my projects, I worked with the city of Coldwater, revising their sign ordinance. And my consulting fee was about $10,000 to just do the sign stuff over. To give you an idea of how, I mean, that's a big city. I mean, not big, it's like 15,000 people, you know, it's complicated. So there's a lot here that needs to be fixed. And we can't touch it now without, I mean, we'd be caught in this for a
It would
year.
Be a material change.
We would.
Okay.
Would those items, Randy, in 76 that we looked at, would those satisfy for a while? Because we're, like you said, it has to be redone, but would that give us something, or is it?
Well, I see if you're defining political signs there, and that's, to me, that says that's a problem, but
So you're saying we really can't do anything about this?
I'm saying you need a comprehensive revision of that whole thing from definitions through requirements, through standards.
Right now,
through all of it.
you're
But
just
for all
letting
of
us
it,
know that.
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
we haven't touched signs.
Okay.
It's,
Am
it
I
sounds
double
simple.
meaning?
It sounds simple. It's not like, yeah, fix this, but it,
Not something
you,
we can
you
do.
get into the nuances of all the different signage, all the different types, all the different ways to measure it, how much you can have, how much you can't have.
I think we need to skip that one and move on.
It's,
for now.
there's,
Let's go to 77. He said there were two different definitions and he used the more complete definition here. From section 30.14.
Yep.
Okay, okay with that.
so we had two definitions of signs in the existing ordinance.
879 and 80 are just,
I gotta agree on all those, all the way to 88.
what about
Oh,
86?
here's a, hang on, wait a minute. I had a note. This might have been just highlighted for me, the two-family dwelling. Okay, so you guys were saying you were okay all the way down to 88.
86,
86? Okay.
where it talks about the definition of zoning administrator.
Okay. So glad you feel that way. Okay, 87 added a definition for zoning district and linked it to the official zoning map.
Eighty-six is you just added the definition.
Well,
Okay. Figure that. Well,
so we took this, there were two, there took the simpler one in Article
Yeah.
2. So there was one in 30.14.
You guys are advancing to Article 3 now.
Oh, I didn't know. What the hell did I find?
Well, this whole Article 3 is brand new. Because there is no zoning map now, but there should be and will be.
Okay. I like it. I
Mhm.
read all this. Okay. All right, everybody okay with
Yeah,
88,
nothing I like.
Yes.
Oh, yes, definitely.
88, 89?
The only thing I like to see, a disclaimer, version date, and of course, we have to have a sign off by the township official.
All right, so that goes on the map itself.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
so. point I had to
And it
make.
says this map is identified by the signature in the township and
Mhm.
attested to.
Good, right up to 92.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, what'd you say? We're up to 92 already?
92.
Okay. 92 I had include.
So it's like all new stuff here.
Well, it is, but it's pulled from all the different sections into one article that has all the uses permitted. And then all the basic dimensional requirements. So this is
So
a
this is
key
all
part
the
of the
new
ordinance.
stuff.
It is, but it's new in the sense it's reorganized. It's not new. We didn't change lot size. We didn't change setbacks. We didn't change any of that. Use is permitted. It's just better organized in a place where this is generally the article you would go to for most of what you need in the zoning ordinance.
I thought it was really easy to read when I went through it.
It was a heck of a lot easier to read than trying to read it out of them books.
Another, I hate to say this, but another way to do this would be to put it all in one big chart, but that takes more time and you could combine all this into one chart. I've seen that done.
This seems pretty clear.
This is a lot easier to read than a chart, Randy. Because even if you have to go to like 18.01, you just go to 18.01. You're not looking at a chart going, where the heck is the next?
Well,
one?
if you're doing it online, you just click on it.
Well, yeah, I know that.
I'm good, up right up to 107.
Now, Heidi, in section 4.04, it says dwellings, plural.
Yes,
Do
it
you have
does.
a question about this?
Mhm. Yes, I do, because we only define dwelling, not dwellings. So,
Which one are we on? I'm sorry.
4.04 residential intent. It's the intent of R1
okay.
residential district to provide dedicated space for residential structures, specifically single-family dwellings. As
shouldn't
the
it say
structure.
single family dwelling?
So I think it's talking about a residential R1 district with multiple lots.
Yeah.
And then you have single-family dwellings on each lot.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I think the issue that Heidi's coming to is when people keep putting up, starts with a shed and then they put a bed in it and then they add plumbing and pretty soon there's a kitchen in it.
Well, you wanna
What's going on?
explain how you explained it to me, because it made a lot more sense.
Accessory AD,
Here, show me.
accessory dwelling unit, ADUs.
They're called ADUs, and a lot of people will call and ask, do you allow ADUs? We do not allow
Is
ADUs,
it
but
clear that
I
we
have an
don't
ag
allow-
property that has a house on it. And they decided to build a wood shop. Well, the wood shop is turned into a 2-story cabin. And so I went out to look at the cabin after 5 years and no permits. And, well, can I put a bedroom in this? And can I put a bathroom in this? And can I do this and this? And, if he wants to split it off and he's got the room to split it and he can do this and he can do, but he did it with no permits from the county. So he's had no electrical review. He's had no plumbing, no. And so you get into this other, but he asked for a definition. So if I'm going to deny somebody a single family dwelling, or that you're only allowed a single family dwelling on a parcel, or you cannot build an accessory structure without a primary residence, it would be nice if those things were in the somewhere in there instead of having, I had to go to 3 definitions, I think, dwelling, multi-family dwellings. And then I went to the R1, I went to the ag district, and then the ag district, references you back to the R2 district. So I had to go to like 4 different things to say, this is why you cannot you can't have 2 residences on one parcel. So if it were more clearly defined, like a parcel is only allowed a primary residence, rather than the dwellings. And I get for that district, you're allowed to have dwellings in general in that district, and I'm fine with that. We have some ordinances that have an intent of what they're trying to accomplish by putting an intent line, but not all of the ordinances have intent. So, but if we had a R1, R2, R3, whatever, R1, a primary residence must exist prior to building an accessory structure. And that we do not allow accessory dwelling units. That's always helpful too. But that doesn't mean somebody doesn't put a bedroom in it, because then you have to define what does a residence consist of. And, you know, is it a kitchen? Is it a bathroom? I mean, anymore, you gotta, I've seen outdoor showers. I've seen
But you
bathrooms.
really
I've
can.
seen, well, yeah. And so what, if you have two cabins side by side on one property and one is an accessory dwelling and the other is the primary dwelling or an accessory structure, what definitively says this is not a dwelling?
You can't put a person in here sleeping or living, but you can use it as storage.
But can
the
you
definition.
put somebody in there sleeping and living? Because in some ordinances I've seen, if it doesn't, it's gotta have a kitchen and it's gotta have a stove or an oven or a sink and you know, it's got specifics. And if you start getting that specific, well, you remove one, oh, pass inspection, bam. You walk away and it goes right back in. But now you can use a microwave oven and you can use
See, a lot of it's a
a,
stove.
a pot,
It says
a lot of
stove.
it's a stove, but it's figuring that out and what constitute. If you have a house, I got into an issue with sleeping cabins where all it was a bed, side of cabin and nothing else. No bathroom, no toilet, nothing, you know, a little mini porch and a bed in there with it. You had like 4 inches between the door and, you know, and what do you say? You can't do it. You can't do it. So gives me something to think about, and I can only go based on my interpretation
So
while I'm reading.
can I ask a kind of a dumb question here?
Yeah.
I mean, for years, for the 30 years I've owned property up here and I've seen a lot of people do a lot of projects. Seen some of them do it legally and some do it illegally. So what text is in the current zoning ordinance that clearly tells you you can't have a second dwelling on a property? Is there clear text?
Not as clear as I'd like it. That's why I would like it to say
Is there
a
any text
primary resident. You go to R1, you,
in the I didn't bring my big fat books. with
yeah,
me.
in the big fat book under, I think it's what? 12, it gives you your setbacks, but it's the R1 that you have to really look at. Or ag, because in ag, you can pretty much do anything you can
whatever
do
you want.
anywhere
It's a
else.
Public hearing now.
Well,
too.
I
Yeah.
know
So-
that about the ag. I know that.
And that makes it difficult because I've seen some ordinances with ag that say, as long as you dedicate 10 acres, you can have, say you need to hire help, you can, as long as you can
Right.
put up a second home on ag property. Well, you know, what I'm finding is a lot of the ag property, they're splitting off 2 acres right now and just building a new home on it. So I've seen several of those recently, but it would be nice if it was more clearly defined in the ordinance. But I know that all you're trying to do is get this stuff consolidated, and trying to make these tweaks and changes requires a process of hearings, and it has to go to the board and it has to go to the county and then it has to come back and get approved. So
Well, I
it's-
guess I'd like to circle.
Yeah.
I would suggest to the group, I'd like to circle change 95. And I guess I think we need to revisit that one next month. And I'd like my book with my information in front of me because
You
I
know,
don't have it.
We recently had
How about that one more question before you're
an
done?
appeal on a lot on, this appeal on a lot on Island Lake. It's a private lake.
Mhm.
The appeal was there was a 50-foot wide lot. And the man that owned that lot owns the island. And he uses that lot to get out to his island. And the
Right.
neighbors all use that lot to launch their boats.
Right.
He had a small little, the 12 by 16 foot shed on it. He petitioned to replace that with a 24-foot wide garage. There is no home on that lot. And I don't think according to the 1 acre requirements, you couldn't put it, and you certainly with 15-foot clearances on each side, you'd have a 20-foot wide house. And then you would allow them to put out a secondary building. So we gave him a variance on that, said you can put your garage up. You have to have the 15-foot side clearances. He had to take the other sheds off the lot because he has no other way to get to his island home. So, you know, you have to have, you know, not everything is black and white, you know,
Yeah,
according to, we were not supposed to allow him to have an accessory building without a house in that lot. But you can't build a house in that lot.
Yeah.
So we gave him a variance.
I think this topic, though, is more associated with the pluralism of the word dwelling and a potential
Yeah, yeah.
misinterpretation that you could have.
More than
More
one
than
house on
dwelling
a parcel.
a lot. That's the question that I'm trying to ask. So this is all about this word.
Yeah, I
dwelling.
would just like to see clarity.
So
in there.
let's go back and revisit that.
Oh, I have one more question.
Go ahead.
We're talking about new houses going forward. We're not talking about old lots that already have two houses. on it.
Right. That's
Right.
water under the dam.
Yeah, that one's a hard sell. To go back. I mean, if it happened, it happened. And keep in mind, they may have been grandfathered in, you know, zoning came in 1972.
The houses were built before the 50s. You're not gonna get me to
They're
take one
grand,
off.
they're grandfathered in.
Right.
Yeah. Now, if they fall down and you don't replace them, well,
If they fall down.
you've got a period of time before that you have to replace at that, you know, foundation to build back up, but you can't expand on that. So, yeah, so if it does fall in, there's a period of time.
Okay, I'm gonna interrupt for a time check. It's 9:30. Are you guys got the Constitution to continue for a little bit or
I do.
keep
I
going?
do.
We're good.
You good, Carl?
We still have master plan stuff to talk
Okay.
about too.
Is that okay, Carl?
I think-
Pardon me?
We still have master plan stuff to talk about too.
We
Just-
still
Carl,
have-
did you say okay?
Did you guys hear what Randy said? We still have some master plan stuff to cover.
I don't know how long it'll take, but it's on the agenda.
What else? is
How
on?
long do you think it'd take, man? What I was thinking, why don't we, if everybody's okay with it, let's see if we can get through these and
Keep going.
just keep going, because this is more important to you, isn't it, Randy?
It's all critical.
Well, this we're working on now, so if we get this done, we go. to
I think
We're on
we're
it.
in a group.
We're on a roll here.
Yeah.
Interrupt it.
On,
Okay.
all right. Holler at me if I'm out of line. Okay, oh wait, hang on. I flipped my page and I thought I was in.
I think we're in 96, I believe.
96 is just same as 6.01.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I missed that. at the
So
bottom.
does
That's where I got my-
6.01
And then-
have dwellings also? I'll just look real quick.
I'm just circling the word dwellings. I don't want to hash that anymore tonight. I think we already killed that. 99, same as 610 and 611. So we okay with that? Yeah, so these are R1 residential definitions. I'm sure Randy didn't make material changes here.
99, you said?
Yeah, it
Okay.
jumped to 99.
okay,
We
yeah.
lost those numbers. Okay. Oh, here's 97. It came back to life.
Yeah.
Clarify that what we're talking about, a building footprint. Okay. So he added the word footprint there. That's 97. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, 98, add reference to accessory use and building section.
We had agree.
Okay. Right. Now we jump this numbering to 100.
I had agree, remove redundancy
Yep,
so we're good with that.
residential intent. All right, 101,
Agree.
same as 710 and 711, 712 not needed. Okay, 102, same as 751. 103, that's the same as another one of those other ones. And 104, development standards move to dimensional requirements. Yes.
Then I had 105 through 110 agree.
Hitting the gas on.
Yeah.
To the next page. All right, you said 105 through 110, so this
Yeah.
is. Do, 106 is remove a redundancy, 107. Change from, okay, so they just clarified the wording here on the 5,000 square feet.
I'm good through 10.
Consistent is 110.
And 111, I had leave as is.
What does that mean now? So there's a new definition or new intent that's fairly general on
Let
one
me
eleven?
see.
Oh, this is the one that there is no language, you said, and so language is provided in general to be refined after the map, after the master plan. Oh, for the A1. So you put in one kind of as a placeholder.
Put a
is what you're saying.
generic thing in there. So
Generic thing. Are you okay with that?
Yep. Mhm.
Right, 112. Look above it, definition on the topic. Okay. Oh, we back to that
Back to roadside stand.
roadside stand.
Yeah,
farm
I think
markets.
we need to,
Unclear if we need to
Yeah.
define roadside stands.
Well.
so what's the difference between a roadside
This
stand
may
and a farm?
overlap.
Is a roadside stand
Revisit.
for someone that's not a farmer?
It
and
is.
doesn't
How is
get
that
to
covered?
use Stamps?
See what the state had to say.
I don't know. My guess is roadside stands was written before the GAMPS, that's an old term in the zoning ordinance, but I don't know.
Farm market, farmer's market, what the hell was it? They got it right here. Oh, roadside stand,
Roadside
right?
stand.
Is that defined right here by the state as a temporary operation established in accordance with a local zoning ordinance and operated in compliance with Act 92, the state food law, where an individual farmer may transport and sell to the public fruits, vegetables, and other agricultural products.
That means he can go down the street to his neighbors, he can take his product and go down the street to his neighbors and sell it in his farm stand, I think.
Or, well, it doesn't say that. It just says a temporary operation
I know, I just went through this
Mhm.
with a friend of mine.
where an individual farmer may transport and sell his stuff. So it,
In other words, he's farming, but he doesn't have any road frontage to put a stand up.
Mhm.
So he took his farming product and went to another farmer, and that other farmer is
It
selling.
doesn't
it
even
for
have
him.
to be another farm, another piece of property.
Yeah.
Right.
Permission to be on the road.
Correct.
So there's no definition for.
well,
roadside
it doesn't
stand
say
there.
that the farmer has to own the roadside stand. It just says roads. You could own the roadside stand and I could be the farmer and bring my stuff and we could sell them, but it says roadside stand. It doesn't say the farmer has to own the stand. Or it doesn't say it doesn't, does or doesn't.
It's just basically saying you can take your product off your property. to
Cause
a
Michael, isn't
location
there a
and sell it.
difference? Isn't there a difference that if you don't have a way to sell your product, like if you're a farmer and you don't have a way to sell your product,
Well, it's like this. We have a stand on Losi Road.
right,
How many people do you think I'm gonna get to come to Losi Road to buy my blueberries and my vegetables?
nobody.
Okay,
Your
So-
regulars.
right. Pretty much none, okay? So, yeah.
Me,
my
maybe, if I was
very,
driving
very,
by.
Very small number,
Yeah.
okay? So I can take my
Blueberries.
product to a different location with more traffic and set up, as long as I have permission from that landowner.
You can set up
I
your
can
own
take it
farm
off from
stand.
my property to a different location and set up and sell it there.
And that's different than a farm market, because a farm market is attached to the property that you're selling.
That's why
You're
it's
selling
called,
it out.
right, that's why it's called a roadside stand.
Right.
So,
But, go ahead.
but we should have a definition for roadside stand.
And I think this is a pretty good one. A temporary operation established in accordance with a local ordinance, and like Randy said. That would be we'd be establishing the local ordinance. and operated in compliance with Act 92. So
Where are you reading that? Which page is?
this here is, here, that,
No,
I get
tell
that
me
come
the
from the
page number.
state.
I got it.
What is that one?
Page number at the bottom right corner. Or is it a
No,
separate
This
page?
is some other page he has.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Oh, wait, this is in the beginning. We're
Yeah,
way
well,
past that.
that's part of this, our 1 through
57, it's right
190.
here. There it is. It's at the top of that one. Okay, so do we want to add roadside stand somewhere? Cause you've got 5 twice on this page, Randy.
Yeah, it's got
Roadside
5,
stand and farm market.
and farm market, it says see section 510. So then 510.
So
There
does,
it is.
with all this stuff, Randy, I'm not really up to speed on all these little rules like Mike is here. So there's different rules as to what you can do if. I don't know how the township's determining what's a
So
roadside
if you
stand, a farm market. I
Well,
understand the farmer's market. more,
Alton's Market up here is a roadside stand.
Cause
So,
it's all their stuff.
Well, no, not all
No,
there's.
no, but they own the property.
It's not attached to the farm. It's just on the highway. It's a good location to be able to sell their stuff. And it's not attached to their farm. There's no farming done on that property
Okay,
whatsoever.
right.
That was a cookie stand in the beginning. They sold
Okay.
Merlis.
Merlos, they sold.
So that's got
Pies and
different
cakes.
rules. than
So
a
he can
farm
have,
market.
he can have his food truck
I
there
don't-
because
I don't
he's
know that
using his
there's-
eggs.
I don't know the zoning exactly, that are different rules. I think it's just a different definition of the location. I don't know that there are
It
different
depends if
rules.
it's considered a roadside stand or a farmer's market. Because this roadside stand says the only thing you have to be out of the right of way is 12 feet to the right of way. So is that 12 feet to the beginning of the shoulder of the road? Is it the easement or is it 12 feet from the middle of the road?
Well, it says right of.
Yeah, the right of way, which is the edge
is
of the
that
road
far
right
edge
of
of
way.
So you're, okay.
33 feet or 66 feet, depending on where you're at.
Go
So if
ahead.
this
I
is
actually have a letter about the Altonans that's down here that I can bring to the next meeting to help add clarity, and it references GAMPs and it gives criteria on all of it.
That'd be nice.
Okay?
That'd be
If
very.
that's okay?
Thank you. We should just put a microphone by our chair.
So,
I looked into this a little bit, probably 6 months ago. And depending on what it was, there was requirement, I think I was looking for food truck ordinance, but what I saw was with roadside stands in it, it was considered, for parking, for trash disposal. There were all of these things in some of these ordinances that need to be considered. You can't just put up a stand and, not have parking because people just pulling in and off the road and get killed. Getting in out of their cars. So there were some rules, if you're gonna put an ordinance together, there's some things that are required.
Porta John or something.
Maybe not. It depends if it's just a stand, but there are some rules because of, parking and pulling off of the road.
so Randy, are you saying that we don't have all these definitions currently?
we don't have a definition of roadside stand.
Okay, so we've got farm market and farmer's market, but
Good.
you're saying even though we don't have a definition for it, we say that they're allowed here.
Well, because actually in section 510C, a couple of pages ahead, existing ordinance language talks about roadside stands. I just found that while we were talking.
Okay.
10.10E,
510.C.
the old, I guess, 10.10E says
Yeah.
roadside stands, definite, that gives a definition of roadside.
So we've got to somehow define that.
We should.
It's not already defined?
No, that's the requirement saying it has to be, can't be closer than 12 feet to the right of way.
To the highway right away.
And that's the old 10.10E?
Yes, but it's now on page 5.4. It just moved.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna hold open 112 just to make sure we remember to do that. Okay. 113. New definition defines farm market in a way that's consistent with
Yep.
MDARD and, yeah, okay, good. 114.
I got 14 through 16 agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you've had to create a new, this is similar to the ag one, right, Randy? Same kind of comment, so that's a placeholder.
It is with footnotes. So one table gives you everything. Much, it's like it now. I mean, there's not too dissimilar to what we have now.
Okay, 115. There's nothing in there, it just says commented. I don't know what that means.
There's some formatting that
A
appears.
formatting thing, okay.
Yeah, that's,
And
So 6 was already there, Randy,
which one?
where it says state-owned conservative lands,
I'm not, I don't know where you are.
or, we're on 115, correct?
116?
115 right above it. I think it's just a formatting thing, the number 6. Okay, primary dimensional requirements. Oh, so this is where the big stuff comes
Yeah,
in.
it's hard to follow here, this, but
It's the same table as 211, except for the last column titled land use regulated setbacks. It's unclear. So he removed that column. Other special setbacks will be included in the next chapter.
so I could use, and we could all use some help comparing this to the existing ordinance to make sure there weren't any inadvertent changes here. It shouldn't be, but
That's very hard to read.
It is, so
I went and I read it on this one.
exactly, that's what you should do.
Um, That's a lot of paper yet to go through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's less comments, so in the later part of it.
There's less red in here,
Well,
so it's easier to read.
Well, I was reading every page. All right, is this something that we can go through tonight, or do we need to do that separately as homework?
Supposed to have done.
Let's do it separately. It doesn't look like it would take long.
Got an
You know,
opinion
what
on
I
it?
was thinking, Linda, if we get one where we're stuck, we could just, or we're gonna need, just go ahead and move on to the next one, write the number down, we can come back to them. The first agenda item next meeting would be add
Yeah,
to fix these, and then we could move on.
all right.
If we get
I
one
do
that we're
have
stuck
some
on.
red marks on this page,
Okay,
On 412?
on
117.
4-6. So you're on 117.
yeah.
The existing chart. contains-
Oh, yeah.
I do think we need to review this.
Yeah,
All right, so
especially because,
we all need to review table 4-1.
especially when it
page
gets to
4,
the
6.
A1 where we're used to thinking 1 acre. It's not 1 acre, guys. It's 40,000.
It's 40,000.
feet.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's table 4-1, which is on page
You say it's
4-6. Yeah,
Yep.
4-1. Primary dimensional requirements on page 4-6. We're all supposed to review this as
Mhm.
homework and check it 16 ways from Tuesday. Okay. I did not see, and I just saw a few formatting weird things, like under R3 single family. If you go under max building coverage %, it has a dash, but then it has like a, whatever you call it, a footnote 9. I don't know why you put a footnote next to a dash,
Which one is that?
and there's no number 9 here. So can you
Oh.
kind of hear it? So it's R3 single family, you go over here and under max building coverage, it has a dash and then it has, go see footnote 9.
There is no
there's
footnote.
no- So I don't know why you put a footnote on a dash.
Yeah.
There's no 9. So I'm not really sure.
There's no 9 anyway, so.
Right. So I don't know if that's just an X out. I wasn't really sure, but if I compare it to the other document, I can probably figure it out. I didn't think of that.
Oh, yeah.
Under RC1, the 5 acre minimum, which I know that's correct. My only question is, your units up here say square foot, but this is a different unit. It's not a huge.
Well, Linda, if you go back to the other one, R3, he deleted. His comments are deleted A1, deleted 3, 7, ... 8.
What do you want again?
I went to your chart and you said, why is that 9 there? Well, if you go back to the other, this part here, you go back to this one,
Mhm.
back to the footnotes, it says on here,
Oh,
deleted A1, which would be in R3, but you have nothing for the footnote 9. Oh, you got deleted 3 ... and then parentheses 7, but then it's referenced down in,
I think this is a really hard way to look at it versus just looking at the chart. It's just my opinion.
It is. Some of the formatting, I don't know, I could just accept those formats and then it would go away, but they're not.
So I did have another question and some of this text seemed, I looked at the electronic version too, and it seemed to run off the page, like under, it says Village 1 with common sewage, Village 2 with common sewage disposal and then there's nothing. That's supposed to say water.
Yep.
Kind of thinking it should say water. Okay, and then the next one's okay, but then this MHP, I don't know what that means.
Mobile home park.
Oh, is that written on our other definitions? I don't.
yes, it is.
Okay, so I just didn't acquire that. That's mobile home. Okay,
Pretty sure I saw it under definitions.
so under,
Old one.
if you go up one N1, I put a question mark on this one. It says minimum side yard feet. It says total 30%, but not less than 15 feet. I understand the not less than 15 feet, but I don't know what this total 30% means. Does anybody know what that means?
Yeah, do you?
What's the minimum,
Matter of fact, they have them.
minimum side yard?
Yes, you gotta answer.
This is in what, commercial industrial areas?
N1.
It's N1 is industrial.
Industrial.
So when you are putting something up in industrial, you can only cover a certain percentage of the lot.
Lot.
So you can only have 30% coverage of the lot of that parcel,
With the
lot,
building.
parcel.
But
Your,
this
your
refers
building,
to
your foundation of your building can't exceed 30%. Now, when you start looking at your, I hypothetically have a building that's maybe 415 feet long and maybe 105 feet wide. And this question came up, what are the setbacks? And since but if it's N1, they've got to have a certain buffer plus the setback. So you not only have to look at the percentage of coverage on the lot, you have to look at what the buffering zones are next to it. So, and that's why you've got to look at it. You can't just look at it and get an answer. You got to go to several places to get the answer, right?
But I think the question is 30% of what?
30%, I still don't
So,
understand. 30%,
if-
it says max
Of the
building
lot.
coverage.
So if the
40.
lot, say the lot width is 500 feet wide, okay? And you start doing a calculation on the square footage of the footprint of the building that you're constructing
Yeah.
and based on what is the lot size, and
Yeah.
it can't exceed 30% of that
It
lot.
says can't exceed 40%. Just.
Then
making
it's
sure you
cannot-
understand 40.
So,
It's whatever the percent, I'm not looking at.
so
what
you'd
you
have
said.
That's all
150
I'm
foot
just
side
Just
yard.
wanna
throwing
make
up.
sure.
Yeah.
So you'd have a 150-foot side yard.
Not necessarily, because it's 30%, so it could be 15% on each side. Okay, but you've got a minimum square foot setback you've got to meet, plus you've got to check your buffering zone to make sure that you have the correct buffering based on your neighboring property. So
Is
there's,
that in the landscaping section? Is that what you're referring to, or?
yeah, there's a little chart.
Depending on
There's a
your
chart
bu-
under
okay.
buffer zone that talks about, if you're a industrial and you're bumped up against commercial versus ag versus residential, and it gives how much buffering you need to do.
Okay, I think you need a footnote here because this
Yeah.
isn't, nobody can understand that.
Yeah.
That
I think it
30%.
should
And to be honest, that would be helpful because
it
I
should be.
had to do some digging to find that answer to try and devise what the answer was, because I kept doing the math. And it was a matter of combining two lots together to get a total square footage of the entire parcel. And that the parcel itself couldn't exceed 30%. That new structure couldn't exceed 30%. But then you start factoring in paved driveway, parking lot, loading docks, whatever. And then you start really bumping into, what's the objective and intent? Is it the water runoff? Is it the stormwater? I mean, you've got other things that start playing into it. So,
All right, so we
So-
can add footnote 9 right there and explain how.
So for clarification for everybody, 30% is the total setback, both of them? They both
I
have
think
to,
that's what she.
both
just
have
told
to
us,
add
30.
30%?
right.
That seems more reasonable,
Yes.
don't you think?
I do, because I think
Yes.
30% for a side,
That
mean,
makes sense, read
that'd be
numbers.
60%
No.
total of your lot would be,
Right.
that's not right. So it's 30% total.
And we need to clarify that would be good. wouldn't it?
Oh, that'd be
Yes.
great.
That's why you couldn't
Right.
get
Yeah.
industrial
Clarification.
only.
Well, it's a question I actually, they called and said, what do I do with this? And how do we calculate this? Fortunately, they've got two lots that they're going to combine to make this. It's all, blue sky. They don't know if they're gonna do anything. So, but they were getting they put it out for bid to see what it was gonna run and I don't know if they're gonna do it, so. But it's different for commercial versus industrial because the setbacks are different for commercial versus industrial, so you gotta factor all that in. It's not cut and dry.
Okay, so I'm looking at page 4-7. I think these changes are a little easier to manage. So some of these are just from other, like 128 is real simple. Oh, wow, look at this. Al went from 118 to 153 with a big agree.
Wow,
Holy cow.
let's take it.
And I read them all. It's been, believe it or not, it's been a couple of days sitting down, drinking coffee,
You
going
spent,
over every one
you
of them.
spent some serious time on
Yeah, I
this.
did.
All right, so a lot of these, starting with. Those are really hard on that side. We're gonna look at the chart, but on 128, these are pretty simple. These are just from other documents. References. Well, he does have number 131 where he simplified some language relative to high water mark.
I'm good with everything on there.
I lost a page.
Okay. He's got another one, number 134. This is another one with a similar note about update this after the master plan. So the ever popular variance provisions for the width to depth ratio. And it references general ordinance
Anybody
26.
bring coffee?
No, I got
No,
iced
and
tea
I'm
and it's
getting
not
tired.
working.
All right, so are we okay on this page down to
Yeah.
136?
It's way too warm in here. Thank you. Especially when you're sitting flustered.
All right, you guys got,
Up a little bit more so people can hear you.
you guys able to make it through 60 more? I'm getting tired. I'm not gonna have any stamina for the master plan. We're at the start of Article 5.
I think if we can get these done, that'll be a big boost to Randy, and then we can just put the other one on the first thing.
I'm willing
We're all-
to stay with the durations, give
Yeah.
whatever we gotta get done.
You okay, Carl?
Not so far.
Okay,
I've
just,
been going
If you
since,
just let us know.
Yeah, if he falls asleep on nothing,
I've been going since 7 o'clock this morning.
I got you beat.
Company coming late this afternoon, so I've been shopping, I've been moving
All
things
right.
around.
Get on page
I'm still going so far.
5-1, okay? These are just references to other,
Yeah, I mean, we're going.
other
on
documents.
here. A lot of, we can just move through.
Yeah.
I'm good up to 155.
Okay,
155,
39. Boy,
55, okay.
Hey Deb,
Well, wait a minute, he deleted this note. Oh, that this is relative to the health ordinance. No structure can be built within the minimum yard setback. But that's with respect to sanitation, right? Right. I think we've kind of, we're not together anymore. What do you want?
155.
155.
Would you like a cup of water?
oh, a little louder, Rose. Gotta really scream in there.
What?
Yes, and if you wanted what?
I had 155 through 171 agree, clarifies and simplifies.
Did you guys go back to number 142?
No,
Did you read the edit?
Yeah.
Cause it's all on what the zoning administrator may require. I was just gonna ask, that was usually acceptable, but.
I think it's what's in there now. So.
all right, so we're on 155. Oh, look at this, the COPUD.
Oh, it's the D,
Yeah, I noticed that.
it's the D EQ.
I didn't have any problem with 155.
Nope.
156.
Yeah. Needs to look at it later.
Any problems with 157?
I had on mine, Linda, from
Change
150.
from well designed to well dash designed. Sure, go ahead. What?
I had on mine from 155 to 171, agree, clarifies and simplifies. And that's on Randy's notes that he made,
Yeah, okay.
but
155, all, yeah, we read development project. I read all this stuff. That's why I felt so much smarter when I walked in here.
Yeah.
I kind of understood it for the first time.
Yeah, I'm good there too.
Just remember the roadside stands, you wanna take a look at.
on 172, let's see, 172, let me. I had a note on that, it said, agree, let's see. Shouldn't we have a formula of calculation, what percentage and how the fee was based? But Randy can take a quick look at that and see. Take it.
172, you said that was 172?
Yeah,
What are you saying for it?
This is the thing like,
Yeah.
that Deb is doing right now, collecting a performance bond.
yeah,
Planning Commission may require reasonable performance guarantees as authorized under the Township Rural Zoning Act.
which was replaced by the Michigan Planning Enabling Act.
Yes, so the planning commission may require reasonable performance guarantees. As
Yeah.
authorized.
So you just clarified that, right?
Okay. Okay, so that was just changed terminology. That's no. 73.
I gotta check that. I don't know if that should be the zoning enabling act. That might be, I might have made a
That may be a
mistake. there.
boo-boo.
Yeah, it might be. I'll check that.
173, I had.
Oh, you're right. It's probably the Michigan
72.
zoning.
Yes. Yeah.
Whoopsie. I just missed that. Oh. All right. Delete the last sentence from this section. Delete the last sentence because we couldn't find it. Waiver of standards.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's just like a big excuse to go ahead and approve it.
Hmm.
It says though, he deleted the last sentence that said, in no case, however, may the dwelling unit density limits established in the table be modified or waived. That he couldn't find the table. Wow. Okay.
It's not there.
What do you do? All right, we're on 174. Reword the last sentence. All right, so PUDs only apply to A1, RC, R2, R3. Well, that's right, you can't have a PUD in an R1,
Mm-mm,
no PUD.
no bud.
I don't know why not, but
I couldn't figure that out either.
Is
that's
that
what,
state law?
no.
No,
No? Is this
Somebody
because
just
we're
forget
not
to put it
having
in.
any more R1 around here?
I don't know.
guess we're not.
I don't know. That's a bigger issue though, when this whole part gets rewritten.
Did somebody just forget to put it in there?
I don't know.
You guys, if you, wait till you get to the general ordinances and you start reading and there's incomplete sentences.
That's not our problem.
Not our problem.
I know.
All right. 175.
I had agree from there to 179. And then 180, I had agree clarify.
Need to repeat what's, okay, I'm good with 75, 76.
78, 29.
See why I had to clarify on that.
The net acreage. Acreage.
Yeah.
Oh. Piece of property.
Guess we have to go read this. Cause it's not really clarified. He's deleting 31 and 41, but. Oh, now I get it. It's a new one.
Randy, on that 180 there, are we thinking to?
Okay, so 178, that's the numbering thing. Nice slow reader. You guys are.
Or was not,
Month 80.
does that need to be?
Bugger.
I'm at 178. So yeah.
No, I wasn't changing that. We're updated amendment 32. This update was not included in the copy. Oh, I just made note that
We shouldn't. include that.
no, it should be included, but it's not in your earlier versions.
We should fix it. We
As
should-
far as I know, it should be there. I mean, it was updated in 1996, but apparently it didn't make it to,
Okay, so all we need to do is just include it.
yes.
Okay,
What's this 181? The ordinance says only 50% of a parking area can be
Mhm.
paved.
Mhm. Now tell me how you do that.
What's that?
How do you do that?
181. Only 50% of a parking area may be paved,
Yeah.
question mark. Off-street parking areas will be drained. Is that because of, impervious surface and excessive runoff? Is that what that's about? That's what I would guess. Deb, what do you think?
It could be, but it does depends on stormwater and you don't have a stormwater ordinance.
Yeah, they took it out.
Well, having a bunch of pavements really bad for the lake and the streams. Keep telling my husband to quit pouring all that concrete around the house.
So we should tell Dollar General.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that. They're,
see, they've got drainage that's already calculated into that, that when they presented their plans,
At least
they're
they're
gonna have a
capturing
paving,
it.
you're gonna have drainage, so I think this is. If you had a big, like, factory moving in, they're gonna have to handle the stormwater runoff
Yeah.
into somewhere.
But
it
that's
says
not what
right
this,
here, the intent.
but that's not what that says.
But this says the intent of the provision is to limit impervious surfaces area, reduce stormwater runoff and retention needs. So if they're taking care of it in another way,
Mhm.
see why this wouldn't be necessary.
Is there a definition for what off-street parking means? I mean, you're just talking about you're talking about, this is a fancy word for parking lots?
Parking lots,
Parking lots and loading areas.
but, and that's a good point here. The sentence says no more than 50% of the parking lot can be paved.
But it does say why.
Mike,
But,
this is where the historian needs to speak
But-
up.
but
What's
why?
up with
I
that?
mean,
I have no idea.
so Dollar
It's not
Gen,
right here.
I know, a Dollar General should stop right now.
Why they have it?
Well, no,
Water
they've got a
basin.
drainage pond.
But that doesn't, there's no.
It doesn't
caveat.
Doesn't say
though.
it.
It says 50%.
It just says.
Yeah, but it says right here why,
Okay,
and if they take care of that issue, then there
Then
shouldn't be an
it's
issue.
not a why anymore. It's
Yeah.
taken- It's the stormwater is addressed.
It doesn't say just, it doesn't say just dot
Okay.
zero, that's it, it says this is the intent is. Take care of the water.
Okay.
Well,
And they
Dollar
don't-
General's taking care of the water issue.
Dollar
then there's
General took care of
no
their
issue.
water. issues,
Oh,
right?
so maybe this
Okay.
is the answer. It says the unpaved parking area shall be maintained in lawn. Okay, so are they
Grass.
saying that your lawn is part of your off-street parking?
Now,
Gravel?
read on to where it says the intent of the provision is to limit.
Previous surface area and reduce stormwater runoff and tension needs off-street storage areas shall not be surfaced with impervious materials except as approved by the planning commission. Those would be our rocks.
No, those would be the retention pond.
The
Yeah,
rocks we put in front of the retention pond so that Junior doesn't run out of the car.
Well, and like, if somebody would move in like a Walmart or something like that. That's gonna, a lot of stuff paved, but it's also gonna have a retention pond. They'll have to dig it.
it's going to from the
But it's
county
gonna have,
and the,
This shit still says no more than
Yeah.
50%, and then it goes on there to.
explain why
talk-
that is.
It explains why, but then it also talks about off-street storage areas shall also not be surfaced.
We should fix this.
Good thing we didn't,
Oh, definitely should be fixed.
pave the park.
But that's a change. That's a material change.
Yeah, then,
Huge.
I don't think so. I don't think it's considered a change because it does say the intent of this. So we can look at this and read what the intent.
Yeah,
Well, the intent's not to dump your
but-
water on your neighbor.
but
The intent is to. take
But the
care of water.
requirement stands alone. It says
What's that?
50%. The requirement of 50% stands alone as a separate sentence. And it just says
Yeah.
why.
But it also says
Why?
why.
It
what
says
the
why
intent
that
of
requirement's
is.
there, but it doesn't say unless.
But it does say what the intent is. The intent's not to say. We're putting it, you gotta put 50% no pavement because we just want you to. The intent is you need to take care of your water.
Okay.
and that's
Well,
exactly,
if your water's taken care of, then
well, he is
the
right.
planning commission, you can say
Keith is right.
that is taken care of and.
Just
Yeah,
like,
it's
well,
taken-
just like,
Yeah,
Application?
well,
And how do you?
that's,
it says if you handle your stormwater. In a
Yeah.
different, if you handle the stormwater,
no,
then this is,
it doesn't say that.
it says
Not what
intent.
it
It
says.
says
That's not what it says.
But it's saying
But
if-
it's a sentence all by itself.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
telling you, this is how I want, this is the intent of this rule.
It does say
Take care of
the.
But the rule is 50%.
Well, it
Tells
says,
you why.
And why? The intent is to take care of the water. But if you can take care of that water in another way,
But
It
if
says the
if it only,
intent is to limit impervious surface area.
if only it said that.
what's that?
If only it said
It
that.
does that by saying intent.
I think so.
well, we could
Well, what
add,
is that in there?
we could add
It
another one.
says, no, what it says is that it intends to reduce stormwater runoff retention needs by having an impervious surface, so it goes straight into the ground instead of being directed to the pond. I think it says what it says.
I do
And it's
too.
gonna be up to the board to decide if they want a material change. That's a huge change.
What parking lot in Whitewater Township is only half paved?
I don't know.
I mean,
It
that-
never-
Matter of fact,
Ah, here we go.
You guys did an equine center over here on M72
Doors fed.
Yeah.
down here. The contractor and the excavator contacted me this week and I think I forwarded you, maybe I didn't. I think I'm gonna give them an extension. They do not want to pave their entire parking lot. I guess they're a little cash flow issue. So they are going to gravel it. And then in a year or two, so I think if you guys are okay with that, I want to go walk the site with them because I don't know if you've seen their equine center, but they come in off of 72. And then they kind of circle an S to get up to and I don't know if they're gonna tear out all of that growth. But I also want to talk to them about the drainage going on the property next, because they really built it up. But there's so much sand up there that it's all washing out. And I think if they actually paved it right now, I think a lot of it
Big,
would wash out.
more water.
Right.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But-
So,
but The slope, Linda, or excuse me, does it run down to the M72 where the 72 is draining it? Or-
well, you come in off 72 and it drops down.
Mhm.
So they may end up needing to put in some kind of a culvert system I don't know. I'm gonna have to go walk
So
it.
would this
with them.
be,
But-
this,
But we might have a parking lot that won't be impervious surface of pavement, but it may be more gravel for a period of time.
well, do
but-
you have a problem with the way this reads?
All right, Lois, that's 181 and
I-
it's a problem.
I think we need a stormwater ordinance and I think there's one coming, isn't there?
Why don't we put that on the list to do for next
I
next
think
month? We'll
181 is
we'll
a
move it over.
big stinker.
That'll be one of the things.
The
that
big
we discuss.
stinker, I like the.
So, so understand it says required parking. You're required to have so many parking spaces
Mhm.
based on the size of your building according to the table here. So required parking, if we, whatever it is, 20, 30, 40, whatever it was for Dollar General,
Mhm.
that's saying that half of that has to be unpaved. And I understand why. I understand you're trying to, but the
But that's
sentence.
to reduce the having retention pond,
That's a really.
but they're
good
putting the
point.
retention pond in.
Required
It's-
parking.
It's required parking.
So
You're
this is,
required,
the required means their minimum. parking.
their minimum required parking is X number of spaces based on square foot of the building.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So we need to fix it.
So is there a chart somewhere about the minimum spaces? per
Yep.
square foot? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, it's coming up.
Yep.
It's coming up.
So put that on the stinker list.
Yeah.
Our stinker list, we should get a,
I
Board
agree
or
with you. If
something.
there's.
Percentage
Say
of
it
the
again,
board
please.
off with stinker list on top too.
I do.
Oh.
182, I had agreed.
I didn't change any of the parking requirements, but I will tell you that many of them are too big. I mean, they're.
You mean the
re-
dimensions?
Requiring too much parking.
Oh.
There's, I mean, if you really can't sleep some night, there's a really good presentation on where parking standards came from in the first place.
Hmm.
And
Did it come like in 1950 when the cars were 20 feet?
yeah,
wide?
well, I mean, not just the spaces, but the number required and how numbers were copied from one place to another, and they often had a little relationship to what was really, really happening. And it's really funny, actually. There's a presentation on it.
What is it called? I'm gonna have to watch.
Oh, I'll get the link and I'll send it to everybody.
Let's stay back on our list. I'm pooped out here.
I had 182 agree myself, and then I had everything agreed, 187, 188, if we go that far. I had regulated by the state, not the township, require a state review prior to our SUP. And let me see what 188 was.
188.
Okay, so yeah, 183, that's no big deal. So
Oh.
Deb gets to do theirs.
Remember that one, Deb, write it down.
Come closer, Mike. Should be the next one.
Yeah.
They could do the closer.
Hey, look at golf courses had to have 5 for each golf hole.
So in Article 10, the graphics are no longer backwards.
That's nice.
It's a big improvement.
So was. So are we at 89?
Speedy Gonzalez.
Yes, I
over
think-
there.
The only note I had on Keith was 1A, it was regulated by the state. It had to do with, development environmentally sensitive areas. And we can approve something in a small, the state's not gonna let it build it, so. So then I went on to. My last one was. 196.
Sometimes that boils down to how much money you got. I've seen them let houses go someplace that I couldn't go.
Yeah. Yeah.
We put foundation pads right on top of the spring sometime.
Yeah.
You know, after all this environmental laws were passed. Oh my God. Sometimes it boils down to how much money.
You know,
So does the water just start coming in then?
Well, the water was coming right up through the concrete when we poured it in the slab, in the footings.
That's at my house, man. We
So
have
the-
pumps.
So like in 196,
Well,
Um,
you're not even on real land. down
I
there.
know.
where you say it needs to be revamped for the Supreme Court case?
Yep.
Is this something we do now
No.
or that's something we have to do later?
We do later. That's gonna suck up a lot of energy.
Is that okay?
196 will defer.
Yep.
To next meeting.
Well, no, it's
No, I mean-
pretty much, we won't be able to deal with that.
This is what I was
until
saying, the whole
Yeah,
this whole
Fine
article
thing. Yeah.
needs to be redone from page 1 to the end of it.
Yep.
Okay, good with 197. We're redoing our whole sign thing eventually, right?
197 to 207, I had agreed, 197, 198 should make clarifications, the other
Yeah.
ones I had agreed. Up to 207.
This could also be updated at some point, but it's not a pressing thing. I mean, the technology has changed a whole lot. In telecommunication towers, it's not, but I wouldn't think that rises to the top of the list of what to work on.
I don't think that makes a stinker.
No, doesn't make the stinker list.
All the home standards. We got all this in there, but we don't have any of these, right?
We have an area zone for mobile home parks.
Do we?
Yep.
Where was that at? Why is it in
17,
the middle of the rec district?
I don't know. Somebody applied for it and never did it.
Yeah.
Talked about that last meeting, right?
yeah,
I do kind of remember that. Whoever lives by there probably have a heart attack if they saw that. Six. Well, we got one more, 207. That's a doozy. Request for amendment. A whole bunch of deletes.
There's a lot of formatting things in here. Again, I think this was largely because of it not reflecting the zoning enabling act.
Okay, so you just fix that up.
Yeah, I think it
Yep.
should be zoning act above there in the comment.
Uh. Good,
we good?
nothing on the end.
Should we have a motion to approve the clarifications, but for I think there's 3 or 4 we flagged, and that'd give Randy
Yeah,
his approval to move forward?
Yeah, do we need to make a list and make sure we got the right list of the ones that we're still working on? Do we need to summarize that or not?
Yeah, I think we could just say for tonight, we just say, but for the ones we flagged.
Except for the ones we.
Yeah, would that be okay?
I don't think we need a motion, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
if we have total agreement, I think
We're
we're
not
fine.
completing anything.
Yeah, so the
Oh.
consensus is to
So
think we need a motion for that
accept
either.
It'd be nice to look at this again without all,
all the balloons.
Yeah.
I,
So do you want to see another version?
That's where you would, does that make sense or not? I know it's kind of a lot of work for you to go through it. and
Well, it's not that
accept
much
the
to-
Changes.
The harder part is getting it to everybody. I know I've sent emails and I know Mike doesn't get emails and so I don't know how to. I can make them available here at the township hall to pick up.
that'd be fine.
Yeah. So if I look at back at my notes, why don't we just make sure we've got this right between Lois and what I got and what all you guys got? Randy was gonna evaluate this, information that Al provided about the definition of the different adult foster care facilities. He was gonna evaluate that and come back to us with that. A lot of the next couple of pages were accepted. We were gonna revisit comment 985 because that was about the pluralism of dwellings. So that was something we have to look at that, and we were supposed to look at the actual existing zoning ordinance section on that. You guys holler at me if it's check anything else here.
I thought-
Number 112. That's the whole issue of the roadside stand definition, that we need to add that definition. And then, we're all supposed to review table 4-1 on page 4-6.
And I got some notes on
Big piece of
48 about parcel.
40, you're back on 48.
Sorry, I just looked at it and I got stars by it and I just wrote parcel like definition.
Wait a minute, is this the one where Al's got?
Latin person.
Yes.
Yeah, that's somewhere. I don't know where that note is. You're correct on that. I probably wrote it inside it instead of putting it on the paper.
That's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, 48.
Sorry,
Did
I
I
just
lose a page?
turned the piece of paper.
There it is. Over here. That's all
Sorry,
right.
I didn't mean going backwards,
No,
but
no, you're right, lot versus parcel. That's one of the things. All right,
that
and
was
then this
48.
stormwater.
yeah, 47, 48. read it.
48, and then this, number 181, that's the stinker, 50%
Mhm.
asphalt.
The thing,
Like, we all want more gravel on our roads.
the thing where we were gonna look up the, on the map, the information on the COPUDs. Was that in this too, or?
No, no.
No, that
Sorry.
was quite a few
Okay.
hours.
It
ago.
was a couple hours.
That was-
But
that
hang
was-
on, buddy, look,
that
I
was-
got notes, wait.
Yes
hang
and
on.
no, that was the zoning map.
Here, look, here's our
Yeah,
note.
but that's not connected to.
No.
No.
Oh, this is the, order.
This
Never
is
mind,
separate.
sorry.
Here, look, here's our note.
No, I got it, I
okay?
got it.
All right. good.
I think that 117 was that, no, that's 117. Okay, am I missing one, you guys? She said she thought she wrote down
I
117.
got 150, I got.
Yeah,
between-
117.
I got 151 definition for some reason.
That's a review that table.
Oh, that's the table.
The
That's the
table.
same as 4-. Okay, all right.
Put 4-1 table
Evans, let's see, okay, if you can't sleep, just read this.
and 172.
What about 112 with the roadside stands and stuff?
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, yep, that's on the list.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I think I'm losing.
Missing this one too.
Going to write your homework on 4.1, you have to read it.
I got that.
Okay. All right.
I got
gotta
something
find
on
the
one
rest of my book.
72 too. I got clarification.
All right, so I think there's more than one brain working on this thing. Okay.
Two was what?
I got 172 clarification definition. See what 172.
Performance bonds.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, are we done with our list? I think we're done.
Yeah.
All right, so, that takes care of the zoning ordinance update. I believe we'll be suspending the meeting because of the time of 10:30. However, we still have to have, I believe, public comment.
Yeah, you do. Can I just ask?
I guess
You
first,
guys-
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the meeting at this point, other than the public comment. Is there a second on that?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
I was just gonna add. if you
No,
want-
I am dead tired and I'm gonna fall
I
asleep.
just wanna know if you wanted to meet at 6 instead of 7 next week.
Maybe, it is a good thing.
I
Okay.
doubt I'll be able to make that.
Okay, so, public comment. Is there anybody in the room for public comment? Here comes Deb.
Right, yeah, yeah. All right, with this, I'll give it to you for GAMS. And that's the GAMS for also. I have two.
You want me to
documents
put this
here.
in next month's packet?
No, you can put that, you can, yeah.
Okay. Well,
All right,
I'll share it
so-
with everybody.
You did the May 29th meeting, and you did the, mustard meeting. And according to 1311 in our consolidated, following approval of a special land use, the zoning administrator shall generate a report incorporating the approved findings, conditions, and applicable restrictions. The report shall be signed by the applicant and the chair or secretary of the planning commission and the applicant. A copy of the signed report will be provided to the applicant retained in the township's files.
So hang
So
on.
I need
Just as
two
one
copies.
spot?
Yep, yep, if you just sign that for me, please. That way. Suspending the meeting. it's my
Lois,
chance.
you're not supposed to talk, so.
So,
Enough of
if
that.
I can get these two guys signed, then I can,
So I am
I'd have to put
signing.
a little of these back. I mean,
Basically, it's the special conditions, it's the approval with conditions stipulated so that I have something to go in the file. And Lois was kind enough to get the approved minutes on the website, so I can print those in the morning and I can get these out for Dollar General and for
This one.
Scott
Yep.
Trumbull with the Mustard Farm.
Yep.
And the way it reads in I couldn't find it in the other ordinance, so it must be part of an amendment somewhere.
We'll come back and get these before they get lost.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
One last thing for me, if you.
Thank you. That's all I need.
Okay, go ahead. Be careful. No injuries.
Okay. So, along with Scott's material, he gave us an invoice that is requesting payment, and it seems to me that he's fulfilled his work scope. I got a text from him saying he's had a minor family emergency, couldn't be here tonight.
Okay.
So, I don't know of any reason not to pay his $3,800.
Is everybody in favor of paying Scott for completing his work?
Are you satisfied, Randy?
Yeah,
You're the one that's got.
no,
I don't know where
as long as I get that file from him, that we can.
Okay, so don't
So-
pay him till you get the file. Okay, no, and then, who approves that invoice? Or-
I believe Cheryl does.
Okay, so nobody here has to sign.
No, I just said, I mean, Cheryl's not been involved in
you
the,
got the deal?
yes.
Yeah, that's
Just
already
gotta
done.
Submit the deal, you're done.
No, you submit the invoice,
Deal
right?
With the invoice. and then certifies it.
All right, our next meeting is August 7th. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Wait,
Oh,
we
sorry,
got more public comment from
somebody on the,
on Zoom. Did we ask any?
oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Did you ask?
She has to ask, she's the
Oh.
chair.
Does anybody on Zoom have a public comment? There's nobody on Zoom? One, public comment for Zoom? Sorry about that. I thought everybody had hung up. I shut the lid. Okay. So there was a second here from Mike. To adjourn?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I feel like I'm losing track of things. Everybody all in favor?
Roll call, because you're Zoom. I'm sorry. is it
I don't
policy?
know that that's,
It's not in policy anymore? Okay, the most recent copy of the policy. I
Okay.
for Zoom
all right,
says-
let's just do a roll call to make sure it's
Thank you
covered and,
very much
and
for
somebody
stopping
please send me the
and-
rules. I don't remember if we've done this in the past, so, Lois, whenever you're ready. All
You
done?
have a- You have a second, one in a second, we're good, then we just got a roll call.
Yeah.
But I can't get the current rules from the clerk, so we have to go back.
Folksama,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Young, Robo,
Yes.
Easton.
Yep.
Not available. Oh,
Yes. And Lois, you copy of the policy, I forwarded it.
We would have to have, we're gonna have to,
Meeting's
if they want to
adjourned.
stay any
Thank you.
longer, I think if somebody said no, I say,